Chapter 265. Wang Jian, Wang Daoyuan, and the others bowed together. Greetings, Senior Yang, Old Ancestor Yang. Yang Yong waved his hand. There's no need to be so courteous. Jian has also established his Violet Palace, so we can address each other as equals in the future. Wang Jian hurriedly declined. The Wang and Yang clans have been friends for hundreds of years, so we naturally have seniority. How can we be like wandering cultivators? Yang Yong didn't insist on addressing each other as equals and smiled. Since that's the case, then I'll shamelessly address myself as a senior. Jian, please don't go out for a period of time. According to the Netherworld sect's rules, any subsidiary clan that establishes a Violet Palace will be appointed as an elder. I'll go back and recommend you to the sect master. It won't be long before the sect sends someone over. At that time, you can follow them to the Netherworld sect to be conferred the title by the sect master. Wang Jian cupped his hands. I'll follow senior's instructions. Yang Yong and Wang Jian exchanged a few words before leaving in a hurry. Violet Palace realm cultivators were considered high-end forces to the three great sections. Every single Violet Palace realm cultivator was valuable. Especially when Wang Jian was only 160 years old and there was a phenomenon when he established his Violet Palace. Even if he couldn't break through to the Golden Core realm in the future, it wouldn't be a problem for him to cultivate to the peak of the Violet Palace realm. The Golden Core realm cultivators of the three great sects were strategic deterrents that couldn't be used unless it was a life-and-death battle. A peak Violet Palace realm cultivator was already the strongest force that could be deployed. Now that a cultivator with the potential to reach the peak of the Violet Palace realm had appeared, Yang Yong naturally didn't dare to underestimate him. Furthermore, this matter was also beneficial to Yang Yong. Although the Netherworld sect required all Violet Palace realm cultivators to join the sect, new Violet Palace realm cultivators still had to go through the process. They would be recommended by the Violet Palace realm elders of the sect, and the higher-ups would give the order to recruit them. He was ordered to oversee a region, and if someone established a Violet Palace realm under his command, then it would be due to his management and the sect would naturally reward him. Recommending a Violet Palace realm cultivator to the sect would also allow him to obtain the merit of recommending talents for the sect. Although the merit of recommending talents wasn't much, it would leave a good impression on the higher-ups of the sect that they weren't envious of talents and were wholeheartedly devoted to the sect. Since there were lucrative positions in the Netherworld sect, the higher-ups would naturally give priority to those with a good impression. In addition, the recommender and the recommender were natural allies. After Wang Jian entered the Underworld sect, he would naturally stand with him. He could also expand his influence. Opening the Purple Mansion was a big event, so the Wang family naturally had to prepare a celebration. After the Netherworld sect appointed the elders, they would invite their friends and relatives to come and congratulate them. The clan was very lively, and it was not suitable for him to continue cultivating. In the clan, there were already a dozen or so disciples of the Ming generation who had reached adulthood. He didn't need to care about these trivial matters. He simply greeted his second brother and ran to Linji Mountain to continue his cultivation. After his fifth great-uncle broke through to the Violet Palace realm, he would have to participate in the affairs of the Netherworld sect in the future. In addition, Zifu disciples weren't allowed to fight in the outer perimeter of the Heavenren mountain range, as that would draw out rank 3 demonic beasts. Most of the third-rank demonic beasts had intelligence similar to that of ordinary people. A few third-rank demonic beasts with high intelligence could even speak human language. They didn't care about Foundation Establishment cultivators and Chi Refinement cultivators causing trouble in the Heavenly/Mountain range. If a Zifu disciple entered, it would be fine if he didn't cause any trouble. But if he engaged in battle and caused a huge commotion, if he didn't immediately flee, he would definitely be attacked by the third-rank monstrous beasts. Thus, he couldn't count on his fifth granduncle in the Fallen Dragon Ridge. He had to rely on himself. On Linji Mountain, the cave abode left behind by the Crimson Fire Ape had already been turned into a wine cellar. The ingredients needed to brew the spiritual peach dew were all cultivated on Linji Mountain. It was best to brew and store the spiritual peach dew in the cellar on Linji Mountain. The cave abode had also been expanded and there were over 1,000 jars of spiritual peach dew stored in it. The spiritual energy in the wine cellar was extremely dense, so Wang Daoyuan went into seclusion in the wine cellar. He consumed 1/10 of the earth vein spiritual essence and circulated the 5 spirits immortal transformation art to refine the essence to increase his cultivation. In the past 5 years, his cultivation had reached the 6th level of the Foundation Establishment realm. After consuming the Dragon Heart fruit, his physique had also been greatly improved. He could consume a tenth of the earth vein spiritual essence every half a month. A month later, Wang Daoyuan consumed a tenth of the earth vein spiritual essence for the third time and finally broke through to the 7th level of the Foundation Establishment realm. A month later, Wang Jian returned to the Jade Spring Peak after receiving his title from the Netherworld sect. The news of him breaking through to the Violet Palace realm, becoming an elder of the Netherworld sect, and the Wang clan's Violet Palace celebration had spread out. On the day of the Violet Palace celebration, Wang Daoyuan also returned to the Jade Spring Peak to receive the guests. Most of the clans in the northern region of the Clearglass County had sent their Violet Palace realm cultivators to congratulate him. Even some of the Liang clan's lackeys had come. Only the Liang and Huang clans were absent. The Liang and Wang clans were mortal enemies and there was no room for reconciliation. The Huang clan owed a debt back then and they relied on the Liang clan to survive. Hence, they didn't dare to offend the Liang clan. There were also several Foundation Establishment realm cultivators from the River Sun County that came to congratulate him. What was most surprising was that the clans in the central region of the Clearglass County had also sent people over. The Wang clan didn't have any business dealings with the clans in the central region of the Clearglass County. The Qin clan's patriarch, Qin Yuanxing, was the last to arrive with a few Foundation Establishment realm cultivators. Ever since the Wang clan's patriarch died in battle, the Wang clan and Qin clan no longer had any dealings. Hence, the reason why they came to congratulate him was puzzling. Qin Yuanxing had met Wang Daoyuan before. Back then, there was a small beast tide and Wang Daoyuan was summoned to provide support with dozens of Foundation Establishment realm cultivators. The first battle with the beast tide happened in the Qin clan's territory. As for the other Foundation Establishment realm cultivators that came with Qin Yuanxing, Wang Daoyuan didn't know any of them. Although they looked unfamiliar, their gifts weren't light. Every single one of them had brought a list of gifts. The one to announce the gift was his 8th uncle, Wang Shoujiang. When he saw the list of gifts, he was stunned. However, his 8th uncle was experienced and this wasn't a big deal. He announced, Jade Spring Mountain Sioux Clan, 3 high-grade 2nd-grade magic artifacts and 20 soul-strengthening pellets. Alchemy Celestial Mountains Shin Clan, 500 caddies of 3rd-grade cinnabar and 20 origin condensing pellets. These clans didn't have any dealings with the Wang clan. Suddenly they gave such a generous gift. It was a bit confusing. Wang Daoyuan thought for a while and realized that the main spirit veins of these clans weren't far from 100 Spirit Mountain. When the beast tide was dealt with, many high-grade 2nd-grade and middle-grade demonic beasts escaped into 100 Spirit Mountain. With these beasts occupying 100 Spirit Mountain, the surrounding clans' businesses in the mountain were all finished. 100 Spirit Mountain stretched for hundreds of miles. There were countless spirit fields, forests and mines. The surrounding clans suffered heavy losses. Moreover, these demonic beasts would often rush out of 100 Spirit Mountain and attack the spirit mountains of the surrounding clans. The Wang clan didn't have any dealings with the central region of Qingli County. Wang Daoyuan naturally didn't pay attention to 100 Spirit Mountain and didn't know if this matter was resolved. Could it be that these people came to ask his 5th uncle to help clear 100 Spirit Mountain? After the clans of the central region of Qingli County arrived, the cultivators of the Netherworld sect also arrived. They were a Zifu realm cultivator and a Foundation Establishment realm cultivator. When a Zifu realm cultivator arrived, Wang Jian personally went to greet him. The Foundation Establishment realm cultivators present also stood up and bowed. The Foundation Establishment realm cultivator who came with the Zifu realm cultivator was Wang Daolong. The Zifu realm cultivator was Wang Daolong's master, Luo Xianming. Wang Jian bowed and said, I didn't expect Senior to come personally. Please forgive me for not coming out to greet you. Luo Xianming waved his hand and said, Daolong is my disciple. We're all family. There's no need for this. You and I are both Zifu realm cultivators. We can address each other as equals. Wang Daolong bowed and said, Greetings, 5th uncle. Congratulations on establishing your Zifu realm. Then Wang Daolong took out a gift box and a list of gifts and gave them to his 8th uncle, Wang Shoujiang. Wang Shoujiang took the list and said, Netherworld sect, 3 low-grade 3rd-grade magic artifacts, 10 low-grade 3rd-grade talismans and 20 purple rhythm pellets. Chapter 266. By now, Wang Jian was already a Zifu elder of the Netherworld sect, and the Wang clan was the representative of the Wang clan, which had thrown itself into the embrace of the Netherworld sect. It was within his expectations that the Netherworld sect would send such a gift. In order to show his respect, Wang Jian personally led the 2 of them in. Those who might come to congratulate him had already arrived, and the celebration was about to begin. A flying boat came from the south. When it got closer, he saw that it was a late-stage Foundation establishment cultivator. That person controlled the flying boat to land in front of Wang Daoyuan and cupped his hands. Yi Changxing of the Divine Weapon Pavilion greets Daoyu. May I ask if Daoyu is Wang Daoyuan? Wang Daoyuan cupped his hands and said, Greetings Yi Daoyu. I am Wang Daoyuan. Yi Changxing smiled and said, I was ordered by Grandmaster Lei Yen to congratulate the Grand Elder of the Wang clan. Also, Martial Uncle Wang asked me to bring some things to Daoyu. Yi Changxing handed an interspatial pouch to Wang Daoyuan. Wang Daoyuan took the interspatial pouch and brought Yi Changxing to the entrance of the hall. Yi Changxing handed over a gift box and a list of gifts to Wang Shoujiang. Wang Shoujiang received the list and said, Divine Weapon Pavilions Daoist Lei Yin, 5 high-grade second-tier magic tools, 3 low-grade third-tier magic tools, and 2 mid-grade third-tier magic tools. Everyone present, including Luo Xianming, was shocked. The Divine Weapon Pavilion never participated in the conflicts between the various powers. In the Zhao country, the Divine Weapon Pavilion would only participate in the celebrations of the 3 sections. It wasn't a secret that the Wang clan's Wang Daoyin had become Lei Yan's disciple, so it wasn't strange for the Divine Weapon Pavilion to send someone over. Furthermore, the gifts weren't sent in the Divine Weapon Pavilion's name, but Lei Yan's name. However, the gifts were too heavy. A total of 5 third-grade magic tools. Especially the mid-grade third-grade magic tools. Even the 3 sects wouldn't be willing to give them out casually. Of course, these things were nothing to Lei Yan. Lei Yan was a high-grade 4th-grade blacksmith. He was one of the best blacksmiths in the entire Beiyuan Xiuxian. If not for the lack of 5th-tier materials, becoming a 5th-tier armament master would not be difficult. To him, a Tier 3 magic tool was something that he could casually refine for fun. He didn't put it in his eyes at all. Due to the rules of the Divine Weapon Pavilion, Yi Changxing did not dare to stay for long. He cupped his hands towards Wang Daoyuan and said, I have also brought the things that Martial Uncle Wang asked me to bring. Also, Martial Uncle Wang asked me to tell Daoyu that he has reached the Foundation establishment stage, and his refining technique has reached the 2nd level of low grade. Daoyu doesn't have to worry about him. If Daoyu has anything to bring to Martial Uncle Wang, you can just hand it over to me at the Divine Weapon Pavilion in Qingli City. Wang Daoyuan cupped his hands and said, Then I'll have to trouble Daoyu in the future. After exchanging a few pleasantries with Wang Daoyuan, Yi Changxing took his leave. Knowing that Wang Daoyin had reached the Foundation establishment stage and was already a 2nd-rank low-grade weapon refiner, all the cultivators present had some thoughts in their hearts. Wang Daoyin's cultivation speed had never been outstanding, but to be able to catch the eye of Daoist Lei Yen, he definitely wasn't ordinary. He had only been a disciple for 10 years, but he had already become a 2nd-rank low-grade weapon refiner. This meant that he was extremely talented in refining. To be able to satisfy Daoist Lei Yen with his talent in refining, he must be highly regarded by Daoist Lei Yen. Thus, it was certain that he would become a Violet Palace Realm cultivator in the future. It was also very possible for him to become a Golden Core Realm cultivator. If Wang Daoyin became a Violet Palace Realm cultivator of the Divine Weapon Pavilion, then the Wang clan's status and strength would also rapidly rise. In the future, it would only be a matter of time before the Wang clan regained the glory of Wang Qingzu's era. Although building a good relationship now couldn't be considered as timely assistance, it was still better than fawning over the Wang clan after they became a Golden Core Realm clan. After Yi Changxing left, the celebration immediately began. First, the Grand Duke personally read the funeral oration and reported to the old ancestor that a Violet Palace Realm cultivator had appeared after 300 years of decline. After that, it was the preaching session. Wang Jian and Luo Xianming, the 2 Violet Palace Realm cultivators, discussed their understanding of the Violet Palace Realm and explained their experience in breaking through to the Violet Palace Realm to the Foundation Establishment Realm cultivators present. This was the most important thing for Foundation Establishment Realm cultivators. For celebrations like breaking through to the next realm, there was no need to prepare a banquet. For cultivators, preaching the Tao was more important than a banquet. After the preaching, all the cultivators left. Even Luo Xianming brought Wang Daolong and left the Jade Spring Peak to return to the Netherworld sect. However, the cultivators of the clans in the central region of Clearglass County refused to leave. In the hall, there were 3 Foundation Establishment Realm cultivators from the Wang clan, Wang Shui, Wang Daoyuan and Wang Daochang. As the patriarch of the Violet Palace Realm, Wang Shui couldn't speak casually. Thus Wang Daoyuan spoke first. He cupped his hands and said, The Wang clan doesn't have any relationship with any of you. May I know why Dao Yu has brought such a generous gift? Qin Yuanxing cupped his hands and said, 20 years ago I fought side by side with Dao Yu. At that time, Dao Yu was only at the first level of the Foundation Establishment realm. I didn't expect that in just 20 years, Dao Yu would already be at the 5th level of the Foundation Establishment realm. Wang Daoyuan used the aura concealment technique to disguise himself as a 5th level Foundation Establishment realm cultivator. Cultivators below the Violet Palace realm wouldn't be able to tell at all. Qin Yuanxing paused for a moment and continued, Today we did come because we have something to ask of you. This matter is related to the small beast tide 20 years ago. At that time, we relied on Dao Yu's help in the northern region of Clearglass County to repel the beast tide and protect our Qin clan. However, the remaining dozens of second-tier high-grade and mid-grade demonic beasts fled into the 100 Spirit Mountain. The 100 Spirit Mountain was a prosperous place with many spirit fields, forests, and mines. After this group of demonic beasts entered, the surrounding clans had no choice but to give up all their properties in the 100 Spirit Mountain. If that was all, they could still accept it. However, these demonic beasts would often sneak out and attack the properties of the nearby clans. The clans had also organized teams to encircle and suppress the demonic beasts, but these demonic beasts were extremely cunning and wouldn't easily show themselves. Each encirclement and suppression of the demonic beasts used up enormous amounts of manpower and resources, but the results were minimal. As a result, the cultivators of the various clans didn't dare to take a single step out of their clans, lest the clan's spirit mountain be breached by the demonic beasts. The patriarch of the Alchemy Celestial Mountains Qin clan continued, In the past 20 years, the Foundation Establishment realm cultivators of the clans around the 100 Spirit Mountain didn't even dare to enter a meditative state. We knew that this matter wasn't something that Foundation Establishment realm cultivators could resolve, so we asked Violet Palace realm cultivators for help many times. However, the Netherworld sect and the Crescent Sun Palace have always been in conflict, so most of their Violet Palace realm cultivators were stationed at the western border. Although the two sects have reconciled, the Netherworld sect is preparing to deal with the Origin Sword sect in the northern part of the mountain. The Violet Palace realm cultivators in the southern region of Clearglass County are also on guard against the Myriad Spirit sect. There are no Violet Palace realm cultivators in the central region of Clearglass County, and only Elder Yang is stationed in the northern region. However, Elder Yang has a heavy responsibility and can't leave Clearglass City for long periods of time. Senior Wang has just opened his Violet Palace and shouldn't have a position yet. Therefore, I would like to ask Senior Wang to take action and deal with the beast hordes in the 100 Spirit Mountain. My Qin clan's Alchemy Celestial Mountain has a high-grade Tier 2 cinnabar mine nearby. Occasionally we can mine a few Tier 3 cinnabar ores. I heard that the Wang clan received a Tier 3 talisman inheritance from the Netherworld sect. Presumably you still lack Tier 3 Spirit Ink. The Qin clan is willing to sell Tier 3 cinnabar ores to the Wang clan. In addition, if the Wang clan has the intention to do business in the central region of Clearglass County, our clans will definitely help with all our strength. Wang Shui and the other two fell into deep thought. The clan's development target was the Sky Beheading Mountain Range. However, in order to develop the Sky Beheading Mountain Range, they had to sell the various resources they obtained for money. Not to mention the distant ones. In order to swallow and digest the Fallen Dragon Ridge, the various resources produced had to be sold outside of Clearglass City. Although the market in Clearglass City wasn't small, each carat was a pit. The market had already been occupied by the various powers. If they wanted to occupy more of the market, they would have to clash with the other clans. The market in the northern region of Clearglass County had already been filled to the brim with resources in the northern region of Clearglass County. The situation in Shanbei and Green Willow region was changing rapidly. If they were to get involved in the matters there, they would be courting death. Although the market in the southern region of Clearglass County was large enough, it was also far away. However, the central region of Clearglass County was a good choice. Although the market wasn't large, it could be used for emergency purposes. It could also be used as a springboard to develop towards the southern region of Clearglass County. Chapter 267. The conditions offered by the families around the 100 Spirit Mountain were very attractive. Wang Daoyuan had already reached the 7th level of the Foundation Establishment realm. As long as he mastered the 3rd level of the Earth Divine Thunder, he would be able to attack the Fallen Dragon Ridge. The Wang clan urgently needed a market to sell resources, and the central region of Clearglass County met this condition. Wang Daoyuan had already obtained a Grade 3 Talisman Inheritance and Blood Dragon Wood that could be used to create low-grade Grade 3 Talisman papers. Talisman brushes could be purchased from the Divine Weapon Pavilion. Although Grade 3 talisman brushes weren't easy to buy, the Divine Weapon Pavilion would still give the Wang clan some face. The only thing they lacked was a stable source of Grade 3 talisman ink. Now that the Alchemy Celestial Mountain Shin clan was willing to provide it, it couldn't be better. Although the Shin clan didn't have much Grade 3 cinnabar, it was stable. The consumption of Grade 3 talismans wasn't high either. A low-grade Grade 3 talisman cost more than 1,000 spirit stones. No one would be willing to throw it away for fun. Foundation establishment clans would buy it as a clan treasure. It was enough to have a small but stable source of energy. Wang Daoyuan and the other two were very tempted, but this matter wasn't easy to deal with. The 100 Spirit Mountain stretched for hundreds of miles, and there were many places where demonic beasts could be hidden. If a Violet Palace Realm cultivator wanted to capture and kill all the demonic beasts, it wasn't something that could be done in a day. No Violet Palace Realm cultivator was willing to spend a lot of time in the 100 Spirit Mountain. Furthermore, Wang Jian had just established his Violet Palace Realm, and he still needed time to learn how to use his divine sense. His ability to search for demonic beasts and his ability to fight was still far from a veteran Violet Palace Realm cultivator. It was still difficult for him to make a move now. The three of them were still deep in thought, and the others were waiting for them to give a reply. Wang Daoyuan suddenly felt a wave of divine sense coming from outside the hall to his 12th uncle. 10 breaths later, Wang Shi replied, "It's not a problem for 5th uncle to wipe out the demonic beasts in the 100 Spirit Mountain, but it's hard to say when. After all, 5th uncle has just broken through to the Violet Palace Realm, and he needs to familiarize himself with the Violet Palace Realm. It will take a long time to completely wipe out the demonic beasts in the 100 Spirit Mountain. 5th uncle doesn't have that much time to stay around the mountain." The Chen family head smiled and said, "As long as Elder Wang is willing to make a move, it's fine. As for when and how to make a move, us juniors naturally won't dare to interfere." This group of people was also very smart. Other than the generous gifts at the beginning, they did not give anything else. Whether it was selling the Tier 3 cinnabar ores or helping to expand their business, they did not suffer any losses. Cinnabar ores had to be sold, and it didn't matter who he did business with. The Wang clan was a Zifu clan, and in the past, it had been a Jindan clan. In order to grow stronger, one had to have some credibility. As long as the Wang clan agreed to help, they wouldn't go back on their word. They didn't need to flatten the 100 Spirit Mountain in one go. As long as they could suppress the demonic beast's arrogance and prevent the various clans from having to worry about their businesses being attacked, they would have profited greatly. Hearing this, Wang Shi nodded and said, "Then there's no problem. The Wang family will help." The cultivators of the 100 Spirit Mountain clan all smiled and cupped their hands in thanks. After that, the three of them sent everyone off. Wang Daoyuan returned to the Immortal Cave to see what his younger brother had sent him. Previously, when he had been outside, there had been a Zifu disciple present, and so he hadn't rashly put the bag of holding back into the space within the Spirit Pearl. After entering the Immortal Cave, he activated the restrictions and opened the bag of holding. The bag of holding wasn't small, and there were many spiritual wood products inside. There were also dense formation patterns on them. He took out all the wooden boards and carefully observed the formation patterns on them. As a high-grade Tier 2 formation master, it was easy for him to distinguish the function of these formation patterns. These were the formation patterns for hovering and propelling formations. There was also a jade slip and a high-grade Tier 2 flexible armor magic artifact in the bag of holding. Wang Daoyuan's divine sense entered the jade slip to see what his younger brother had sent him. From the jade slip, he learned that the wooden products sent by Wang Daoyuan were actually the core components of a high-grade Tier 2 flying boat. Once these things were combined and the outer shell was installed, it would be a complete flying boat. Installing an outer shell on a cargo flying boat couldn't be simpler. As long as there was spiritual wood, it would be made into wooden boards and keel, and after some refinement, it would take shape. Zhao Liang was already a middle-grade Tier 2 weapon refiner. Doing this kind of work was just child's play for him. Wang Daoyi knew that the family needed a flying boat, but due to the sex rules, it wasn't good to send it over openly. He could only use this method to smuggle it over. It didn't matter even if he was discovered. Was it against the sex rules to send spiritual wood to his own brother? Was it against the sex rules to carve formation patterns on spiritual wood? As for what these spiritual wood could be combined into, that was the matter of the recipient. It had nothing to do with the Divine Weapon Pavilion. With Lei Yan's protective temper, even if the people of the Divine Weapon Pavilion found out, they wouldn't dare to interfere. Last time, because of Zhao Liang, Lei Yan had beaten up all the Jindan elders of the Divine Weapon Pavilion. Wang Daoyin was more valued than Zhao Liang. Giving gifts didn't violate the sect's rules. They turned a blind eye and let it pass. Whoever dared to report it and make a big deal out of it, forcing Lei Yan to beat up the Jindan elders again. In the end, the unlucky one could only be the informant. In addition to the flying boat, Wang Daoyin also learned that Wang Daoyuan had participated in the duel. Knowing that his turtle dragon armor had been destroyed, he specially sent him a soft armor. This soft armor was called the Mystic Jade Golden Silk Armor. It was made from second-tier upper-grade spiritual silk and second-tier upper-grade spiritual material, the Mystic Jade Golden Silk Armor. Wang Daoyin was only a second-tier lower-grade weapon refiner. Naturally, he didn't have the ability to refine the core of the flying boat and the Mystic Jade Golden Silk Armor. Moreover, the formation patterns on the core of the flying boat and the tool patterns on the soft armor were inscribed with very advanced techniques. They were definitely not something that a second-tier upper-grade formation master or weapon refiner could do. Wang Daoyin might have asked a third-tier formation master or weapon refiner to refine it. It might even have been done by Lei Yan himself. He couldn't let down his brother's good intentions. After putting on the golden silk armor, he put away the core of the flying boat and used his divine sense to send a message to Zhao Liang, asking him to come over. After receiving the message, Zhao Liang didn't dare to delay. He quickly arrived at the door of Wang Daoyuan's cave. Wang Daoyuan temporarily closed the cave's restriction and let Zhao Liang in. Then he opened the restriction again and took out the flying boat core from his storage bag. "Brother-in-law, take a look at this and see if it can be used to build a flying boat." Zhao Liang carefully examined it and said, "This seems to be master's work. The core components are complete. It can be used after adding a shell. As for the shell, apart from the dragon bone, which needs second-tier spiritual wood, the rest can be made of iron quinoa wood." Wang Daoyuan asked, "How long will it take?" Zhao Liang replied, "That depends on how big you want the flying boat. This core component is very high quality. It won't be a problem to install it on a 30-meter-long flying boat. However, I don't have the ability to inscribe a second-tier upper-grade size-changing formation on the dragon bone. You'll have to do it yourself. If you want to build a 30-meter-long flying boat, it will take 2 to 3 years to inscribe defensive tool patterns on the sides and deck." Wang Daoyuan pondered for a while and said, "Just build it according to the size of the wave-chasing boat and try to resemble it as much as possible. If there's a problem with the Netherworld sect, we can also say that they repaired the wave-chasing boat." Zhao Liang had also seen the wave-chasing boat. After thinking for a while he said, "If we build it according to the size of the wave-chasing boat, it will take about a year and a half. I don't have dragon bone materials. Either you chop down a second-tier spiritual wood or give me other spiritual materials, and I'll refine one. However, I still have some difficulties in refining a 15-meter-long dragon bone. I'll need your help." Wang Daoyuan said with a smile, "The time is fine. The dragon bone materials won't be a problem. There are plenty of second-tier spiritual woods in the heavenly/mountain range. I'll chop down a few good ones and bring them over. This matter must be kept a secret. Just say that you repaired the wave-chasing boat. I'll go tell the patriarch and have him help cover it up." Chapter 268. Wang Daoyuan transmitted his voice to his 12th uncle, telling him that Wang Daoyin had sent him the core of the flying boat and asking him to bring the wave-chasing flying boat over. In the name of repairing the wave-chasing flying boat, he would build a new flying boat. Naturally, he couldn't let the broken wave-chasing flying boat show up again. In just a few dozen breaths, Wang Shui ran to the entrance of the cave residence. After entering the cave residence, he gave the wave-chasing flying boat to Zhao Liang, saying, "Build the outer shell according to this. The family can finally have a flying boat. Unfortunately, the 6th Prince and Lord Waterfront are in Linhai, so we can't develop there. Daoyuan's strategy of a crafty rabbit having 3 burrows can only have 2. Fortunately, 5th Uncle opened up the Purple Mansion, so the Netherworld sect's cave is temporarily stable. In the future, it will be much easier to move our clansmen with this flying boat." Wang Daoyuan smiled, "There are other places without Linhai. It's fine to contact the 9th Prince's descendants. However, we won't need it for now. There are many eyes on Jade Spring Peak, so it's easy to be exposed if we build a spirit boat here. How about we let brother-in-law go to the Spirit Spring Cave residence?" Wang Shui thought for a moment, then said, "It's indeed not convenient on Jade Spring Peak, so you can send him to the Spirit Spring Cave residence." Wang Daoyuan nodded, saying, "Then let's do it this way. I can also go to Fallen Dragon Ridge and find some spiritual wood for brother-in-law." Hearing this, Wang Shi asked, "You can flatten Fallen Dragon Ridge now?" Wang Daoyuan no longer hid his cultivation and revealed his 7th level foundation establishment spiritual power fluctuations. Wang Shi was a little surprised. "Good boy, you built your foundation more than 20 years later than me, but your cultivation is almost catching up to me." A 7th level foundation establishment cultivator in his early 70s is extremely rare even among the elite disciples of the 3 major sections. In our Wang clan, your combat prowess is only below 5th uncles. As long as you don't encounter a powerful mutant, you can even fight a peak 2nd level demon beast. I don't dare to compete with you. Wang Daoyuan put the core parts of the flying boat into his storage bag and took away all the iron quinoa wood that could be taken away from the family. As for Zhao Liang, he directly put him into the spirit beast bag. To be on the safe side, he did not head directly to the spiritual spring cavern. Instead, he headed to Linji Mountain first and then used Earth Escape from Linji Mountain to head to the spiritual spring cavern. The one guarding the spirit spring cave was Wang Mingrui, who ranked 3rd in the Ming generation. He had a wood spiritual root of more than 7 inches and walked the path of spiritual plants. Reaching the 8th level of Qi refinement in his 30s, he was also the focus of the family's nurturing. The exact location of the spirit spring cavern was still only known to the elders of the family. For him to be able to guard this place, it could be seen that the family trusted him. Wang Daoyuan didn't use the spirit spring bead. He closed the cave's restriction formation from the outside and opened the cave's door. Wang Mingrui was startled when the cave dwelling's restriction suddenly closed and the cave dwelling opened. Seeing someone come in, he was about to make a move, but when he saw that it was Wang Daoyuan, he cupped his hands and said, "Seventh uncle, why are you here?" Wang Daoyuan replied, "I need to use the spiritual spring cave for 2 years. I've already informed the clan leader. You can do whatever you want for these 2 years. The monthly salary for guarding this place will be given to you as usual. Don't tell anyone that I have been here." Wang Mingrui was overjoyed. He cupped his hands and said, "Thank you, seventh uncle." He couldn't help but be happy. Who wouldn't be happy that he didn't have to work and got a free monthly salary? He handed the spirit spring bead to Wang Daoyuan and left. Wang Daoyuan closed the cave dwelling's door, opened the defensive restriction formation and took Zhao Liang out of the spirit beast pouch. Zhao Liang looked at the scene in front of him and asked in surprise, "This is the family spirit spring cavern? I've always heard of it but I've never been here. It really is an excellent secret cave dwelling." Zhao Liang was a second-level middle-grade weapon refiner. He was also an elder in the Wang family and was in charge of the newly established weapon refining department. Other than weapon refining, he was also responsible for teaching a few disciples of the family the art of weapon refining. Currently, he had already cultivated 3 first-level middle-grade weapon refiners. Wang Daoyuan gave him the core parts of the flying boat and the iron quinoa wood he brought from Jade Spring Peak. He said, "I'll leave the flying boat to you. I'll go to Fallen Dragon Ridge and chop down some second-level upper-grade spiritual wood." Finishing, he handed the spirit spring bead to Zhao Liang and turned to leave the spirit spring cavern. He still used the earth escape technique to return to Linji Mountain. After showing his face at Linji Mountain, he flew to Fallen Dragon Ridge on his sword. Originally, he wanted to go to Fallen Dragon Ridge to cause trouble after mastering the 3rd level of the Earth Divine Thunder. However, he urgently needed 2nd-level upper-grade spiritual wood to refine the flying boat's keel, so he couldn't care too much. He did have 2nd-level upper-grade spiritual wood in the space of his spirit pearl. For example, the True Essence Fruit Tree, Red-Scaled Pine, and Blood Dragon Wood. The True Essence Fruit Tree was too precious, and there was only one in the space of his spirit pearl. He couldn't bear to destroy it just like that. The red-scaled pine and blood dragon wood were materials for burning charcoal, but not for refining weapons, let alone refining the flying boat's keel. The golden jade peach was very suitable for refining the keel, but unfortunately, the highest grade of the golden jade peach in the space was only 2nd-level middle grade. It was very difficult to use it to refine the flying boat's keel. The flying boat was the key to relocating his clansmen, so he naturally had to strive for the best. After he broke through to Foundation Establishment Level 7, there were some changes in the space of his Spirit Pearl. Similar to when he broke through to Foundation Establishment Level 4, this time the space of his Spirit Pearl only increased the density of spiritual Qi, reaching the level of 3rd level lower grade spiritual vein. Growing in this environment, it was only a matter of time before the Blood Dragon would become a 3rd level spiritual wood. The bark of the 3rd level Blood Dragon wood could be used to refine 3rd level lower grade talisman paper. There were no suitable spiritual woods in the space of his Spirit Pearl, but Fallen Dragon Ridge shouldn't lack them. Fallen Dragon Ridge had a second-level upper-grade spiritual vein, and it stretched for more than 1,000 miles. There were many plants on the mountain, so he could always find a suitable spiritual wood. He flew on his sword to the top of a mountain at the westernmost end of Fallen Dragon Ridge. The entire mountain was surrounded by dense trees. Wang Daoyuan used the spirit concealment technique and landed on the top of the mountain to search for suitable spiritual wood. There was a pine forest on the top of the mountain, and the pine trees were not low-grade. The worst of them were second-level lower-grade spiritual wood, and second-level middle-grade spiritual wood were very common. There was nothing special about these pine trees. Wang Daoyuan took out his golden-edged sword and cut down a second-level lower-grade pine tree in front of him. He saw that the cut was more than 3 feet in diameter, and the core of the tree was about 1 inch in diameter. It was white like jade and it was crystal clear. The outer layer was golden. He used the long sword in his hand to gently cut the core of the tree, leaving only a shallow mark. After the golden-edged sword cut through the outer layer of the tree, the sword mark left behind was much deeper. The outer layer was golden and the inner layer was like jade. It was extremely hard, so it should be a jade bone pine. The jade bone pine could grow to a third-level lower-grade spiritual wood. The wood was hard, strong, and tough, and it was most suitable for refining large magic weapons. However, the jade bone pine was too dense and not suitable for conducting spiritual energy, so its growth was very slow. It also consumed a lot of spiritual energy when used to refine magic weapons. Therefore, the jade bone pine was rarely used to refine magic weapons such as long swords and spiritual armor. Instead, it was often used to refine the keel of a flying boat, the side of a ship, the deck, and the supporting parts of a puppet. Although there were only second-level lower-grade jade bone pines in front of him, they were still spiritual wood that could grow to a third-level lower-grade. It was not difficult for them to grow to a second-level upper-grade spiritual wood on a second-level upper-grade spiritual vein. Since there was a large pine forest here, there would naturally be older jade bone pines. He released more than 100 soul-chasing bees and asked them to find the tallest tree in this forest. After living in the space of the spiritual pearl for many years, the soul-chasing bee king finally broke through and became a second-level lower-grade spiritual insect. The newly bred soul-chasing bees also had a cultivation of first-level upper-grade, and their flying speed had increased by a lot. However, the cultivation of the ordinary soul-chasing bees was still too low. They could not differentiate between second-level middle-grade spiritual wood and second-level upper-grade spiritual wood, so they could only search for the tallest spiritual wood. Chapter 269. After Wang Daoyuan released the soul-chasing bees, he waited for more than an hour, but not a single soul-chasing bee flew back. The area of this pine forest was not small, and the ground was uneven, but no matter what, hundreds of soul-chasing bees would not be unable to return. The only reasonable explanation was that there was definitely something hidden in this pine forest that could kill the soul-chasing bees. Without the information of the soul-chasing bees, he really did not dare to rashly go deep. However, he had a lot of soul-chasing bees. He would lose some soul-chasing bees to kill all the things hidden in the dark. Fallen Dragon Ridge was to be used as a transit station for the family, and many ordinary clansmen had to live here. For the safety of the clansmen, all the monsters in Fallen Dragon Ridge had to be cleaned up. When he was in the oasis, Wang Daoyuan cultivated a small colony of soul-chasing bees to explore the way. Although he did not use it again, it had been left in the space of the spiritual bead, and now it could be used. He put the small colony and the beehive into the spiritual beast bag, and released more than 10 soul-chasing bees to explore the way in front. He communicated with the soul-chasing bee king with his spiritual sense, so that he could grasp the position of the ordinary soul-chasing bees in time. The soul-chasing bees flew 2 or 3 miles away, and several of them disappeared on the crown of a tall jade-bone pine. Wang Daoyuan immediately recalled the other soul-chasing bees, and slowly approached the tree. When he was only 100 feet away from the tree, he used his spiritual sense to carefully explore the whole tree, but did not find any trace of monsters. He used the sky-peering technique to explore again but still found nothing. Moreover, the wood of this jade-bone pine was extremely dense, and spiritual sense could not detect the situation inside the branches. He estimated that the thing that killed the soul-chasing bees was very small, hidden in the branches of the jade-bone pine. In this way the attacker should be some insects. If it was before, he really had no way to deal with these insects. But now, the water attribute spiritual power carried the attribute of Gui Water Death Flame, which could directly attack the soul and had cold yin qi. Ordinary monsters could not withstand it. The body type with the strongest resistance to cold yin qi was like Yunyi, who was as fat as a ball. Living creatures with small bodies had very poor resistance to cold yin qi. Wang Daoyuan used the first tier spell, rain transformation, and a 20-meter-wide dark cloud immediately appeared above the treetop. Black raindrops fell from the dark clouds, and the entire tree was shrouded in black fog. The cold Chi had also caused some damage to the jade bone pine tree, but spiritual trees did not have souls. Even if it was injured, it would only be a fallen leaf. It would recover after a period of recuperation. On the other hand, the spirit insect's physical body was too small, and the cold Chi could kill it very quickly. The spirit insect's soul was also relatively weak and couldn't withstand the Gui water nether flame's soul-damaging effects. As long as they came into contact with the black fog, their bodies and souls would not be spared. After half a cup of tea's time, a red spider the size of a grain of rice jumped out of the tree trunk and pounced towards Wang Daoyuan. The red spider was a rank 2 middle-grade spirit insect. Spider spirit insects were bound to be poisonous, so he had to be careful when dealing with them. Wang Daoyuan cast the water ball technique. The black water spiritual power condensed into a black water ball, wrapping him up. He also hid 5 rank 2 upper-grade earth armor talismans. Once the red spider broke through the water ball, he would immediately activate the earth armor talismans. The red spider was startled by the black water curtain in front of it. It didn't dare to attack again and fell to the ground. The red spider didn't dare to attack, but Wang Daoyuan didn't let it go. He cast the water dragon technique and condensed a black water dragon. Using a water dragon to attack an extremely agile spirit insect was not easy to deal with. He cast the spell that came with the water dragon technique, Water Dragon Prison. A black water bubble about 5 feet in diameter appeared out of thin air around the red spider. Before the red spider could react, it was trapped inside the water dragon prison. Originally, the water dragon prison was only a trapping spell. It could be used to reduce the range of the water dragon prison to kill enemies with weak defense, but the attack power was not great. Wang Daoyuan's water dragon prison had a cold Chi that attacked the soul and harmed the body. After a few breaths of time, the red spider was completely motionless. For safety's sake, he shrunk the water dragon prison to the smallest size. After half a cup of tea's time, he removed the water dragon prison. The red spider was wrapped in a thin layer of black ice. He probed it with his divine sense and found that the spider had no divine sense fluctuations or signs of life. It was completely dead. He had his doppelganger check the myriad spirit atlas and found out that the red spider was called bloodthirsty wolf spider. Bloodthirsty wolf spiders were rank 2 upper-grade demonic beasts. It was said that someone had found a rank 3 lower-grade bloodthirsty wolf spider. This thing didn't weave webs and hunted using its combat power and poison. The bloodthirsty wolf spider's poison was the type that could kill upon contact. After being bitten, it would be over in a few breaths of time. This spider liked to live alone. Every bloodthirsty wolf spider occupied a territory of several miles. This was good news for Wang Daoyuan. In this way, there wouldn't be too many bloodthirsty wolf spiders in this pine forest. It would be much easier to clean them up. Although the jade bone pine in front of him was a rank 2 middle grade spiritual wood, it was very close to rank 2 upper grade. If he couldn't find a rank 2 upper grade jade bone pine, this one could be used as the flying boat's keel. The pine forest was uneven. Looking down from the sky on his sword, he couldn't determine which jade bone pine was the tallest. He could only determine where the center of the forest was. However, the oldest tree in a forest was most likely to be in the center of the forest. Wang Daoyuan brought the water dragon armor and flew to the center of the forest, over 2,000 feet in the air. After probing with his divine sense, his face lit up. He found more than one rank 2 upper grade jade bone pine. Because he couldn't be sure if there were rank 2 upper grade bloodthirsty wolf spiders here, he didn't dare to go down directly. Otherwise, if he was ambushed by the bloodthirsty wolf spiders, he wouldn't be able to dodge in time. It was hard to say if the water dragon armor could block an attack from a rank 2 upper grade spiritual insect. He didn't want to waste the soul-chasing bees' lives and directly used the rain transformation technique. Using all his strength, he condensed a dark cloud with a diameter of 300 feet. This time it wasn't a downpour but an extremely dense fine rain. When the mountain wind blew, the fine raindrops penetrated every opening. This kind of fine rain conserved spiritual power and had a better coverage effect. Within the area covered by the dark cloud, there wasn't a single place that was completely safe from the attack of the fine rain. After a quarter of an hour, where the rain fell, a cloud of black mist condensed. Soon, a soybean-sized bloodthirsty wolf spider jumped out from a rank 2 upper grade jade bone pine. This bloodthirsty wolf spider was rank 2 upper grade, roughly equivalent to a human peak foundation establishment cultivator. Moreover, it wasn't among the 5 rank 2 upper-grade demonic beasts detected by the soul-chasing bees. It seemed that the soul-chasing bees that had been scouting this area had all been killed. The bloodthirsty wolf spider wasn't just running away, it was attacking Wang Daoyuan. Wang Daoyuan didn't know how strong this fellow was, so he first used his sword to dodge the attack. Then he used the same trick and used the water dragon prison in an attempt to trap it. This bloodthirsty wolf spider wasn't weak. As soon as the water dragon prison was formed, it forcibly broke through. Moreover, the attack of water spiritual power on the soul and the cold air couldn't make it lose its ability to resist in an instant. Then Wang Daoyuan separated a portion of his spiritual power from the water dragon armor and condensed it into 2 black water dragons that were 30 feet long and attacked the bloodthirsty wolf spider. Although this bloodthirsty wolf spider couldn't fly, it had a few long strands of spider silk on its body that allowed it to float in the air and fly with spiritual power. The 2 black water dragons couldn't hit it at all, let alone kill it. Chapter 270. The spiritual insect, which was comparable to the peak of the Foundation establishment stage, was indeed difficult to deal with. It could still find time to attack Wang Daoyuan with its innate spell even though it was entangled by the 2 water dragons. The bloodthirsty wolf spider's innate spell was to use its venomous fangs to release a sword-like blood-red energy. There was also a pungent smell in the air. It was obvious that it was highly toxic. Wang Daoyuan used the gold-edged sword under his feet to perform the 10,000 sword spell, condensing a long sword shadow and attacking the bloodthirsty wolf spider. The bloodthirsty wolf spider released a sword energy from its venomous fangs to meet the long sword shadow. After his cultivation had broken through to the 7th level of the Foundation establishment stage, the power of his spells had also improved a lot. The long sword shadow of the 10,000 sword spell's power had increased from 2 times to 3 times that of a medium-grade 2nd stage golden knife talisman. However, this long sword shadow was still vulnerable in front of the bloodthirsty wolf spider's energy. When the 2 collided, the long sword shadow disappeared directly, and the bloodthirsty wolf spider's energy did not change much. Wang Daoyuan dodged the attack with his sword and performed the meteor fall technique, condensing a flaming meteorite and attacking the bloodthirsty wolf spider. The bloodthirsty wolf spider still released a blood-red energy with its venomous fangs. After the energy collided with the flaming meteorite, it completely disappeared. The flaming meteorite he used now was equivalent to 15 times that of a medium-grade 2nd stage golden knife talisman. The blood-red energy was equivalent to a flaming meteorite. The bloodthirsty wolf spider's spellcasting speed was not slow, but it was slightly slower than the flaming meteorite. However, with its nimble body, the meteor fall technique alone was not enough to take it down. In this place he did not dare to fight a battle of attrition. If he fought for too long and attracted other demonic beasts, it would be troublesome. With his current strength, it was not a big problem for him to fight a high-grade 2nd stage demonic beast. If he was surrounded by several demonic beasts, he could only run away. This time, the bloodthirsty wolf spider knew how powerful he was. It would be difficult to change its nest. He did not have the ability to turn the entire pine forest upside down and find a spider the size of a soybean. If this thing was hidden forever, he would not dare to move his clansmen here. Even an ordinary Foundation establishment stage cultivator would be powerless in front of the bloodthirsty wolf spider. At that time he could only let 5th grade uncle take the risk and come here. Wang Daoyuan withdrew the 2 water dragons that were entangling the bloodthirsty wolf spider. The power of thunder appeared in his hand, and a fist-sized ball of earthy yellow spirit energy instantly took shape. What he had used was the Earth Divine Thunder. At this moment, the power of the Earth Divine Thunder was equivalent to 25 times that of a middle-grade 2nd level golden knife talisman. The speed at which he unleashed the Earth Divine Thunder was still half a breath's time. He unleashed 3 consecutive Earth Divine Thunders. The power of the Earth Divine Lightning was incomparable to spells of the same level that required charging. Its strength lay in its speed and explosive power. Ordinary instant-cast spells contained very little spiritual power and did not require time to compress it. After hitting the enemy and causing damage, it would dissipate into spirit chi. On the other hand, the 5 elements Divine Thunder contained the power of thunder and lightning. It was the only instantaneous spell that had the ability to explode. 4 demonic beasts like the bloodthirsty wolf spider, which didn't have a strong physical body, a single attack was enough to severely injure it. At this moment he was only about 300 meters away from the bloodthirsty wolf spider, a distance that the Earth Divine Lightning could cover in an instant. Even if the bloodthirsty wolf spider had an advanced escape technique, it would still be difficult to dodge. Wang Daoyuan unleashed 3 consecutive Earth Divine Thunders. The bloodthirsty wolf spider unleashed 2 streams of energy, but only managed to neutralize one of them. The other 2 Earth Divine Thunders hit the bloodthirsty wolf spider squarely. Wang Daoyuan used his divine sense to detect that the bloodthirsty wolf spider had condensed a blood-red shield around its body before the Earth Divine Thunder hit it. This blood-red shield was also extraordinary. It took 2 Earth Divine Thunders to break it. The bloodthirsty wolf spider was sent flying by the 2 Earth Divine Thunders. It seemed that the bloodthirsty wolf spider had used up a lot of its spiritual power to condense the blood-red shield. Naturally, Wang Daoyuan would not give up the opportunity to beat the bloodthirsty wolf spider while it was down. Riding on his long sword, he chased after the bloodthirsty wolf spider. The bloodthirsty wolf spider's spiritual power was almost depleted. It could no longer move quickly. Soon Wang Daoyuan caught up with it. He used the innumerable sword art. The gold-edged sword under his feet condensed a long sword shadow and slashed at the bloodthirsty wolf spider. The bloodthirsty wolf spider could not dodge in time and was cut in half by the long sword shadow. He was still worried. He used the water dragon prison to envelop the 2 halves of the bloodthirsty wolf spider's body. Then he shrank the water dragon prison into a water ball the size of a longan. 5 minutes later, Wang Daoyuan removed the water dragon prison. The bloodthirsty wolf spider's body was frozen into a black block of ice. When the block of ice fell to the ground, it turned into a red and black powder. Ordinary second-rank demonic beasts could only master 1 innate spell. Third-rank demonic beasts could master many innate spells. It was normal for a third-rank demonic beast with a high-rank demonic beast bloodline to awaken more than 10 innate spells. This bloodthirsty wolf spider had mastered 2 innate spells. It seemed that it was not far from breaking through to the 3rd rank. After killing the bloodthirsty wolf spider, Wang Daoyuan released more than 100 soul-chasing bees to scout the area below. They did not find any traces of living creatures within a radius of 2.5 miles. Only now did he dare to go down and search for the spiritual wood. After landing on the ground, he used his divine sense to scan the surroundings. Only then did he discover that there was more than 1 upper-grade second-rank jade bone pine. One of the jade bone pine was more than 50 meters tall. Its spiritual energy fluctuations were much stronger than the other upper-grade second-rank spiritual woods. This jade bone pine grew in a deep pit. Looking down from above, it was impossible to tell what was different about it. Wang Daoyuan guessed that this was the ancestor of the entire pine forest. If not for the fact that the spirit vein here was only upper-grade second rank, this jade bone pine would have been a 3rd-rank spiritual wood long ago. Even if the spiritual energy was insufficient, after a long period of accumulation, this jade bone pine was only 1 step away from becoming a 3rd-rank spiritual wood. Wang Daoyuan was reluctant to use it as a keel. It was too wasteful. As long as he frequently used the sweet rain technique on it or set up a spirit gathering formation nearby, the spiritual energy would reach the level of an upper-grade 3rd-rank spirit vein. After a few decades, this jade bone pine would become an upper-grade 3rd-rank spiritual wood. There were more than 10 upper-grade 2nd-rank jade bone pines in the surroundings. Any one of them could be used to refine the keel of the flying boat. This pine forest would be his property in the future. Wang Daoyuan had the idea of sustainable development, so he did not cut down all the upper-grade 2nd-rank jade bone pines. He only chose 3 jade bone pines with straight trunks that were very suitable for making keels. The wood of these upper-grade 2nd-rank jade bone pines was very hard. Even if he used the gold-edged sword with all his strength, he could only leave a sword mark that was 1 inch deep. And these jade bone pines, even the smallest one, had a trunk that was 20 to 30 meters in diameter. If he continued to cut down like this, it would take forever. Wang Daoyuan used the heaven-cleaving sword. However, the spiritual woods were too dense. The giant sword shadow that was 20 meters long could not be used at all. He could only use all his strength to shrink the heaven-cleaving sword to 20 to 30 meters long. Although it was more strenuous and time-consuming to compress spiritual energy, the heaven-cleaving sword's power had increased by quite a bit. Unfortunately, this move was not practical in actual combat. It was really good to use it for cutting wood. He only needed 1 sword to cut down upper-grade 2nd-rank jade bone pines. This upper-grade 2nd-rank jade bone pines had a tree core that was like white jade and had a diameter of about 2 feet. Just the tree core alone was enough to refine keels. He urgently needed to use the compressed version of the heaven-cleaving sword to cut down the remaining 2 jade bone pines that were suitable for making keels. These 3 jade bone pines were all over 20 meters tall. There was no storage bag that could fit them. It was also not easy to put them in the spirit spring cave. Helpless, he could only cut off all the branches of the jade bone pines. The tree trunks were also chopped into several sections and put them into a large spirit beast bag. Anyway, the keels only needed to be 50 meters long at most. It was useless to have such a long tree trunk. He originally wanted to kill all the bloodthirsty wolf spiders in the pine forest. However, he had made a lot of noise here. If he continued to stay, it was very likely that he would attract demonic beasts. For safety reasons, he immediately flew back to Linji Mountain on his sword. Chapter 271. After Wang Daoyuan arrived at Linji Mountain, he quickly went to the Spirit Spring Cave. Entering the Spirit Spring Cave, he took off the spirit beast bag at his waist and poured out all the branches of the 3 jade bone pine trees. Seeing so many jade bone pine trees, Zhao Liang's eyes widened and he said excitedly, "This is a jade bone pine tree? The Divine Weapon Pavilion can't even bear to use second-grade high-grade jade bone pine trees as the keel when refining second-grade flying ships. They are only willing to use them when refining large flying warships. It's just a pity that these tree trunks are all cut off. Otherwise, it would be enough to refine a flying warship more than 200 feet long." Wang Daoyuan said with a smile, "Don't even think about refining a flying warship. If we want the entire flying warship, the Netherworld sect will definitely confiscate it. You don't have to feel pity for these jade bone pine trees. I found a jade bone pine forest in Fallen Dragon Ridge. There are probably dozens of second-grade mid-grade jade bone pine trees that can barely be used as the keel of a flying ship. There are more than 10 second-grade high-grade ones, and one of them will soon become a third-grade spiritual wood. When your refining skills reach second-grade high-grade, you can refine a complete flying ship, and the entire pine forest will be yours to use." Zhao Liang asked in surprise, "Really? Then I have to become a second-grade high-grade refiner as soon as possible." Wang Daoyuan pointed at a few jade bone pine tree trunks and said, "See if these tree trunks are okay. If not, I'll cut a few more." Zhao Liang quickly answered, "You have more than 10 tree trunks here and each tree trunk can be made into a keel. If we can refine the core of the flying ship ourselves, it's enough to refine more than 10 flying ships. To refine the keel, you only need to take out the white jade tree core. It's best to cut the outer layer of the tree trunk into 3-inch thick planks. I'll use these planks to make an outer shell to protect the core parts, so that when attacked, the core will not be directly broken like the chasing wave flying ship. The jade bone pine tree is extremely hard, and ordinary late-stage foundation establishment cultivators can't do anything about it. The tools in my hands are simply not enough to handle these tree trunks. So, processing these tree trunks, you still have to do it yourself." Wang Daoyuan said with a smile, "That's fine, this task won't be difficult for me." Saying that, he used Heaven-Cleaving Sword, and condensed a giant sword phantom of over 20 feet long in his hand. Then, the shadow of the giant sword slowly shrunk to about 5 feet long, which was slightly longer than a tree trunk. He carefully controlled the shadow of the giant sword to cut off layers of wood from the tree trunk. Cutting only the wooden planks and not the heart of the tree consumed much less spiritual energy. After cutting more than 10 wooden planks, the spiritual energy in the giant sword shadow was exhausted. It took him 4 to 5 days to finish processing all the wooden planks. Zhao Liang had obtained a total of nearly 300 pieces of wood that were 15 meters long and wide enough to be used as the deck of a flying boat. At the sight of this, Zhao Liang even wanted to use these wood to refine the outer shell of the flying boat. He also knew that this was unrealistic. If he wanted to use the jade bone pine to refine a flying boat, he would probably have to cut down a dozen trees. Moreover, it took a lot of time to process the wood. He couldn't possibly let Wang Daoyuan, the Wang clan's strongest fighter below the Violet Palace realm, spend all his time cutting wooden planks, right? After dealing with the wooden planks, Zhao Liang picked out a jade bone pine tree core and handed it to Wang Daoyuan. He said, "Use this to refine the dragon bone. I'll leave the size manipulation formation to you. I can also open the holes on the dragon bone, but I'm very slow. If you're in a hurry to use the flying boat, you can do it yourself. It'll save you half a year." Wang Daoyuan naturally hoped that it would be faster. Although the white jade bone was tough, it still depended on who was processing it. After Zhao Liang marked the location of the holes, he immediately used the golden rock wrestling dragon technique to open the holes. Zhao Liang's eyelids twitched when he saw this. Who had ever seen someone using the sky-severing sword to cut the wood and the golden rock wrestling dragon technique to open the holes? Even perfected Lord Golden Rock would be furious if he saw this. As for the Guiyuan sword sect, they were shameless and didn't care about this. After half a month, Wang Daoyuan finished processing the dragon bone and opened all the holes. He also finished inscribing the size manipulation formation. In the future he would have to rely on this formation to make the flying boat bigger or smaller. Wang Daoyuan couldn't help with the rest of the work. After getting Zhao Liang's promise to refine the flying boat within a year, he left the Spirit Spring Cave abode and went to Linji Mountain. A flying boat would be available in a year, so he had to work harder at Fallen Dragon Ridge. After the flying boat was refined, he wanted to have a stable territory where he could move ordinary people over. Fallen Dragon Ridge was more than 500 kilometers long. It was impossible to take over the entire mountain range in one go. The family couldn't spare so many people to manage it. It was better to take over a piece of land at the westernmost part of Fallen Dragon Ridge and gradually expand. After showing his face at Linji Mountain, he continued to Fallen Dragon Ridge to deal with the demon beasts. The best place to occupy a stable territory in Fallen Dragon Ridge was the Jade Bone Pine Forest at the westernmost part. He continued to use the soul-chasing bees to lure and kill the bloodthirsty wolf spiders and clean up the entire forest. After more than 10 days and losing more than 200 soul-chasing bees, he cleaned up the entire forest and killed more than 30 bloodthirsty wolf spiders. Fallen Dragon Ridge stretched for more than 500 kilometers. A spirit vein ran through the entire mountain range. However, the entire mountain range wasn't continuous. Between the mountain peaks there were deep valleys, cliffs, hills, and flatlands. The Jadebone Pine Forest was located in a small mountain range that was about 100 kilometers long from east to west and 20 to 30 kilometers wide from north to south. The Jadebone Pine Forest was the most abundant spiritual plant on the mountain. Although this small mountain range was also part of Fallen Dragon Ridge, there was a valley that was several kilometers wide in the east, which separated it from the rest of Fallen Dragon Ridge. This small mountain range didn't have a name of its own. It was called Fallen Dragon Ridge. Wang Daoyuan named it Jadebone Mountain. There were no other rank 2 demon beasts on the mountain except for the bloodthirsty wolf spiders. Although dozens of bloodthirsty wolf spiders were cleaned up and no more soul-chasing bees were killed, Wang Daoyuan still didn't dare to let his guard down. If the spiritual insects the size of a grain of rice were to hide, it would be difficult for him to find them. In Fallen Dragon Ridge, all the rank 2 upper-class demon beasts had their own territories and wouldn't easily cross over. As long as they didn't make too much noise, they didn't have to worry about other demon beasts coming to find trouble. The demon beasts on the east side of Jadebone Mountain were all rank 2 mid-class and low-class demon beasts. If they came, they would be sending themselves to their deaths. In order to establish a stable foundation on Jadebone Mountain, the next step was to set up a defensive array as soon as possible. The spirit veins in Fallen Dragon Ridge were non-elemental. Any type of array could be set up. Of course, a 5-elemental array was the best as it could fully unleash the potential of the non-elemental spirit veins. Moreover, there was another advantage to using a 5-elemental array. Any cultivator of the 5-elemental attribute could use the array. It was even easier to choose the guarding cultivator. Anyone could do it. Wang Daoyuan's array formation legacy came from the 5-element spiritual master. The 5-element spiritual master was a penta-spirit roots cultivator himself. The array formations that he studied the most were naturally the most suitable for him. Therefore, he had the most 5-elemental array formations in his legacy. However, it wasn't easy to choose a suitable array formation for Jadebone Mountain. The mountain was 50 kilometers long and 20 to 30 kilometers wide. Most 5-elemental array formation cores were evenly distributed. In order to cover the entire mountain, 2 cores had to be placed at the easternmost and westernmost points of Jadebone Mountain. As a result, the north and south cores had to be 50 kilometers apart and could only be placed outside of Jadebone Mountain. If the array cores were far away from the spirit veins, it would be very difficult to make use of the spirit chi in the spirit veins. The array cores had to be placed dozens of kilometers away from the mountain and the materials to connect to the spirit veins had to be arranged dozens of kilometers away. Not to mention the high cost of the materials and the high probability of problems, it was inevitable that there would be losses in the process of conducting the spirit chi. If the spirit chi was conducted dozens of kilometers away, it would cause the spirit chi in the 5-elemental array cores to be seriously imbalanced and the array wouldn't be able to operate normally. After searching for a long time, he found an array formation that didn't require the 5-elemental array cores to be evenly distributed, the 5-elemental Dragon Lock Array. Chapter 272. This 5-elements dragon locking formation was a formation that locked spirit veins so that it could extract the spirit veins' origin. Any spirit vein with a bit of scale would extend out in a line. To lock a spirit vein, the distribution of the formation's formation eyes must be close to the spirit vein. Therefore, a senior expert in the Tao of formations created a formation with an uneven distribution of the 5 elements formation eyes. The 5 elements dragon locking formation only targeted spirit veins and had no use in terms of attack or defense. After the 5 elements Taoist obtained this formation, he was very interested in the unique distribution of the 5 elements formation eyes. Using this as a foundation, he made improvements and added many offensive and defensive functions. After the improvements, he did not change the name and called it the 5 elements dragon locking formation. The modified 5 elements dragon locking formation had a total of 26 formation eyes. Among them, there was 1 non-elemental core formation eye and 1 elemental core formation eye. Each elemental core formation eye had 4 auxiliary core formation eyes. Because there were 5 elemental core formation eyes, the controller only needed to control 1 core formation eye to be able to unleash the power of a single elemental formation. This was the common characteristic of all 5 elements formations. The non-elemental core was added later by the 5 elements Taoist. Originally, this formation needed 5 people with different elemental attributes to control. In order to make this formation more suitable for pentaspirit veins cultivators, the 5 elements Taoist added the non-elemental core formation eyes. Pentaspirit veins cultivators would be able to control 5 elemental core formation eyes at the same time. The 5 elemental core formation eyes were unevenly distributed and different elemental spiritual power could not be converted well. When the spiritual power was unbalanced, the non-elemental core formation eyes would need to extract non-elemental spiritual power and split it into the 5 elemental attributes to support the formation eyes of each attribute and balance the 5 elemental spiritual power in the formation. The 20 ordinary formation eyes belonged to the 5 elements and were distributed between the non-elemental core formation eyes and the 5 elemental core formation eyes. They only served to transfer and store spiritual power. After all, the 5 elemental core formation eyes were distributed on a small mountain range and were relatively far away from each other. To ensure that there were no problems with the transfer of spiritual power, the ordinary formation eyes were needed as a transfer point. The offensive and defensive functions of an ordinary formation relied on the cooperation of the core formation eyes and the ordinary formation eyes to complete. The ordinary formation eyes of the 5 elements dragon locking formation were all used to connect to the core formation eyes. If the formation eyes were added, it would make the formation overly complicated and its complexity would even surpass that of many Tier 3 formations. As a result, the amount of materials required and the difficulty of setting up a Tier 3 array formation exceeded that of a Tier 2 array formation, but its power was only a Tier 2 high-grade array formation. In that case, this array formation had no meaning at all. Furthermore, the more complicated the formation, the easier it was for problems to arise, and the less reliable it was. In order to reduce the complexity of the array was set up using magic tools. The offensive and defensive functions of an array formation were entirely dependent on the Dharma artifacts. This was also one of the schools of array formation, known as the Dharma artifact school. The array formations in the 5 elements mystery realm also belonged to this school of thought. The Dharma artifact that held down the array formation was the 5 elements heaven suppression seal. The advantage of the artifact type array formation was that it was easy to set up and simple. Originally, it required many array cores to cooperate with each other to achieve its function. Now, it only needed 1 core array core and an artifact. The disadvantage was that the cost was high, and the materials used to set up the array could not be compared to the cost of the same grade of array artifacts. The array formation was extremely suitable, but the price to set up this array formation was also quite high. The 6 core array eyes all required Tier 2 materials to be set up, and they also required a Tier 2 high-grade Dharma artifact to hold down the array. To set up a large array that covered the entire Jadesong Mountain, the amount of materials needed was definitely not small. Although Wang Daoyuan was very rich, he lacked the materials needed to set up the array in the Spirit Pearl space. Only the red-scaled pine could be used as a fire attribute material. The materials for the wood attribute array core were easy to find. Although the Jadesong pine was too dense and was not suitable for the transmission of spirit energy, it was not suitable to be used as an array core material and a connecting material. However, the golden silk jade peach was very suitable. He still had no idea what to use for the metal, earth and water attribute materials. As for the Dharma artifact holding down the array, there was no need to directly use a Tier 2 high-grade Dharma artifact. This array formation was to defend against Tier 2 demonic beasts. With 5 Qi refinement cultivators of the 5 elements controlling the array and cooperating with each other, using a Tier 2 medium-grade Dharma artifact to hold down the array, it was enough to deal with the attack of a Tier 2 high-grade demonic beast. In the future, when there were better Dharma artifacts, they could completely replace the Tier 2 medium-grade Dharma artifacts. Including the materials for the array core and the connecting materials, they could all be replaced. He had 2 Tier 2 medium-grade Dharma artifacts on him that could be used to hold down the array. They were the Black Gold Sword and the Distant Fire Sword. With these 2 long swords, the array formation's attack methods were no longer lacking. As for the remaining 3 Dharma artifacts, he could arrange them into defensive Dharma artifacts and auxiliary Dharma artifacts. As for the materials for setting up the array, he would leave it to the 12th uncle and the 3rd brother to think of a way. Wang Daoyuan left several hundred soul-chasing bees here to monitor the situation. He himself returned to Jade Spring Peak and reported his needs. Previously, at 5th Great Uncle's Purple Mansion Grand Ceremony, he had received many gifts, including Tier 2 Dharma artifacts. Using a few Dharma artifacts to set up the array wasn't a big problem. Although the clan now had more properties and the status of the spiritual wood and/or business was much lower than before, they were still one of the pillars of the clan's economy. He could still obtain quite a few Tier 2 spiritual materials of the 5 elements. Setting up the array was also for the clan's benefit. It was reasonable for him to ask for a few Dharma artifacts and some 5-element materials. After he returned to Jade Spring Peak, he reported this matter to the 12th uncle. Now that the Wang clan had become a Purple Mansion clan, they were much more confident. The 12th uncle's entire aura was different. After he heard Wang Daoyuan's plan to use a mid-grade Tier 2 Dharma artifact, he shook his head and said, "Our Wang clan currently doesn't lack such things. Isn't it just 5 Dharma artifacts of the 5 elements? Why use a mid-grade Tier 2 Dharma artifact? Just use a high-grade Tier 2 Dharma artifact. As for the other materials, our clan doesn't lack them either. If you see any suitable materials, you can have as many as you want." Hearing this, Wang Daoyuan teased, "12th uncle, your temperament is different now. You have the demeanor of a Purple Mansion clan leader." Hearing this, Wang Shui smiled and said, "One's attitude needs to match their strength. Now that we've become a Purple Mansion clan, we still need to bring out the imposing manner we should have. The best disguise is to act normal. If we act humble like before, it would instead arouse suspicion." Wang Daoyuan was deeply moved by this. When changing one's appearance and walking outside, the best disguise was to be similar to the people around you. After Wang Daoyuan stated his requirements, Wang Shui immediately took out 5 high-grade Tier 2 Dharma artifacts from the treasury. They were the Gold Fiend Soul-Severing Sword, the Raging Flame Gourd, the Thick Earth Shield, the Bewildering Mist Forbidden God Net, and the 5 Poison Pearl. The Gold Fiend Soul-Severing Sword was extremely sharp. Simply activating it could release a baleful sword chi that could injure both the body and the soul. As long as the Raging Flame Gourd could absorb fire attribute spiritual chi, it could produce flames within the gourd. The gourd also had an internal space similar to a storage pouch that could store flames. When fighting, one could use spiritual sense or spiritual chi to activate it and release flames. The Thick Earth Shield's function was the simplest. It had high defensive power and could withstand all kinds of attacks. The Bewildering Mist Forbidden God Net could release a large cloud of mist that had the effect of concealing spiritual sense. The 5 Poison Pearl could absorb what attribute spiritual chi and convert it into poison. When facing an enemy, it could release poisonous mist to attack the enemy. In addition, it could also absorb poison from the outside world. It was extremely effective against demonic beasts and cultivators who played with poison. With these 5 Dharma artifacts, there was no longer a need for Foundation Establishment cultivators to guard the formation. As long as 5 Peak Chi refining cultivators were assigned to guard the formation, they would be able to resist the attacks of multiple high-grade Tier 2 demonic beasts. As for the materials for the Formation Eye and the materials for connecting the Formation Eye, the clan had no lack of them. Guarding many mines and forests, it was extremely easy to gather several Tier 2 Formation Eye materials and Tier 1 connecting materials. Chapter 273. Since he had already taken out a Grade 2 Dharma artifact, the materials for the Formation Core were even less of a problem. He directly used the materials used to refine Grade 2 Dharma artifacts as the Formation Core. Wang Daoyuan took the 5 Dharma artifacts and headed to Jade Pine Mountain. The other materials were transported to Jade Pine Mountain by the Fat Flying Tiger. He sent the Dharma artifacts into the space of the Spirit Pearl and let his clone Baisheng analyze their characteristics. He wanted Baisheng to become an upper-grade Grade 2 weapon refiner as soon as possible so that he could help refine the flying boat. Unfortunately, this fellow's foundation was from the evil cultivation of weapon refinement techniques. It would take a long time for him to convert to righteous Dharma artifacts. It had been more than 10 years since Wang Daoyuan refined him into a clone, which meant that he had been in the space for hundreds of years. Until now, he could only refine middle-grade Grade 2 righteous Dharma artifacts. His level was even lower than Zhao Liang's. Moreover, it was not easy to refine a flying boat in private. Otherwise, it would be hard to explain if he suddenly took out a flying boat. It was a little difficult for his clone Beiyuan to refine an upper-grade Grade 2 Dharma artifact. However, it was not a big problem for him to analyze an upper-grade Grade 2 Dharma artifact. Among the 5 Dharma artifacts, the baleful gold soul-severing sword and thick earth shield had the simplest structures. The blazing gourd was not that complicated. It could convert fire attribute spirit chi into flames. Formation patterns and runes could all do that. The Fog Forbidden God Net and 5 Poison Pearls functions were still very useful. If the Fog Forbidden God Net's function was combined with the Cloud Mist Escape, the Dharma artifact could produce clouds and mist. Using the Cloud Mist Escape would save the time needed to condense clouds and could be used faster. In addition to the function of blocking divine sense, it could also be used to ambush the opponent or take the opportunity to escape. He asked Beiyuan to analyze the Fog Forbidden God Net so that he could refine a Dharma artifact with a similar function in the future. It would be very useful against enemies and escape. Generally, Dharma artifacts used to deal with poison were refined using materials from poisonous demon beasts. The 5 Poison Pearl looked like it was made of some kind of spirit jade. He had 2 Grade 3 weapon refinement technique inheritances, but there was no record of a pattern that could convert spirit chi into poison. It was worth investigating how it could convert wood attribute spirit chi into poison. After Beiyuan carefully investigated it, Wang Daoyuan was greatly disappointed. He thought that he had obtained a new pattern, but he did not expect that the demon beast materials were hidden so well. They were the poison sacs of several poisonous demonic beasts, which had the function of transforming spiritual energy into poison. They were sealed inside the spirit jade. Not only could these poison sacs produce toxins, but they could also absorb and store foreign toxins. If one was not a Tier 2 armament master, one really would not be able to discover the trick of the 5 Poison Pearl. Among these artifacts, only the Mist Forbidden Divine Net was of some use to him, and he could make a copy of it. The other artifacts were just SOSO. Although Wang Daoyuan's attainments in array formations were at superior Tier 2, he did not have much experience in setting up large-scale array formations. The only experience he had was setting up the E-Wood Withering Flourishing Array on Linji Mountain. The rest of his experience in setting up arrays was to set up some defensive restrictions for his own cave abode. He refined a few formation discs that he would often use when traveling outside. The difficulty of setting up the 5 elements dragon locking formation was far greater than the E-Wood Withering formation. However, Wang Daoyuan's spiritual sense cultivation was strong enough, and he also had enough materials. If the difficulty was high, he would try it slowly. It took a year and 3 times the amount of materials to finally finish setting up the entire array. The non-elemental core array I was placed in the center of Jade Pine Mountain, while the 5 elements core array I was distributed on the mountain. Wang Daoyuan sat in the non-elemental core array I and activated the entire array through the array I. A huge light gray light shield enveloped the entire Jade Pine Mountain. Through the core array I, he controlled the 5 array suppressing artifacts to see how powerful they were. When controlling the baleful gold soul severing sword, a sword chi carrying a baleful aura would suddenly appear anywhere on the light shield. When fully activated, it could even form a long sword phantom. When controlling the blazing gourd, flames would appear. He could also use the flames to cast fire attribute spells, which were stronger than the spells cast by ordinary Foundation Establishment late-stage cultivators. The thick earth shield increased the strength of the light shield. It could be increased as a whole or only in one area. The 5 Poison Pearl and the Mist Forbidden Divine Net only worked within the range of the array, and were not suitable for attacking enemies outside the array. There was no problem with the basic functions of the array, so he went out to lure a Tier 2 upper Tier 2 demonic beast to test the actual combatability of the array. However, the Tier 2 upper Tier 2 demonic beasts in Fallen Dragon Ridge were more shrewd. No matter how Wang Daoyuan provoked them, they refused to come out. Flowers planted with the intention did not bloom, but unintentionally planted willows grew. The Tier 2 upper Tier 2 demonic beast did not come out. On the way he encountered a Tier 2 middle Tier 2 earth armor pig that attacked him. Since there were no Tier 2 upper Tier 2 demonic beasts, a middle Tier 2 demonic beast would suffice, so he simply lured it to Jade Pine Mountain. To prevent the earth armor pig from giving up on the chase, Wang Daoyuan did not use the art of sword flight. He relied on his 2 legs to cast the swift art and sprinted on the ground, always keeping a distance of a few hundred feet. After reaching Jade Pine Mountain, Wang Daoyuan suddenly accelerated and shook off the Earth Armor Pig. Quickly running to the non-elemental core array eye, the Earth Armor Pig also ran into the range of the array. Wang Daoyuan activated the array. Seeing that it was covered by the light shield, the wild boar wanted to crash out. It turned around and crashed into the light shield in the east. Wang Daoyuan did not activate the thick earth shield to increase the strength of the light shield, but it still could not break through. The Earth Armor Pig retreated a few hundred feet. Its whole body flickered with an earthy yellow light as it charged forward with all its might. This time there were finally some cracks on the array's light shield. Wang Daoyuan immediately activated the thick earth shield. The cracks were immediately mended and the entire array's light shield was strengthened. The Earth Armor Pig continued to crash, but the array's light shield only flickered slightly. Next he activated the Mist Forbidden God Net. Around the Earth Armor Pig, a cloud of mist with a diameter of more than 300 feet was condensed. The Earth Armor Pig's eyes and divine sense could not be used. It could only crash around in the mist. Wherever it ran, Wang Daoyuan would condense the mist there. Next, Wang Daoyuan controlled the vicious gold soul-severing sword. A few streaks of sword chi carrying a murderous aura appeared out of nowhere and slashed at the Earth Armor Pig. The Earth Armor Pig's innate spell was to increase its defensive power. It condensed a layer of earthy yellow armor on its body. However, the sword chi was not to be trifled with. A few streaks of sword chi penetrated the earthy yellow armor and left a few shallow bloody wounds on its body. These wounds were nothing to the Earth Armor Pig. However, the source of the sword chi spirit power was the entire spirit vein. It could attack continuously and rapidly. After a dozen breaths of time, the Earth Armor Pig had 40 to 50 wounds on its body. These wounds were relatively shallow. They would not be able to heavily injure the Earth Armor Pig for a while. Then Wang Daoyuan activated the 5 Poison Pearl. A multicolored poisonous mist enveloped the Earth Armor Pig. It entered the Earth Armor Pig's body through the wounds and its mouth and nose. After a few breaths of time, the Earth Armor Pig was a little unstable. The armor on its body also flickered. Then he controlled the raging flame gourd to condense a flame python that coiled around the Earth Armor Pig. The armor was burned through. Soon, the fragrance of roasted meat wafted out. Finally, he activated the vicious gold soul-severing sword with all his strength. A long sword appeared out of nowhere and cut off the pig's head. Without the protection of spirit power, the Earth Armor Pig's corpse was quickly burned to ashes. Wang Daoyuan was very satisfied with the test results of the formation's power. It was easy to kill a middle-rank 2 demonic beast that was famous for its strong defense and physical body. It should not take much effort to use this formation to deal with most high-rank 2 demonic beasts. Chapter 274. Wang Daoyuan immediately reported to the clan leader that the formation had been set up, and it was powerful enough to kill a second-rank high-rank demonic beast. 2 days later, a 15-meter-long and 10-meter-wide flying boat flew over from the west. On the left side of the boat, there were the words, "Chasing Waves" written. The entire flying boat was no different from a Chasing Waves flying boat. Its flying speed was also very fast, and it could fly more than 1,000 miles every 2 hours. The flying boat landed in the middle of Jadesong Mountain, on a piece of flat land near the neutral formation eye. 9 people jumped down from the flying boat, with the first one being the 12th uncle Wang Shui. He said to Wang Daoyuan, "Daoyuan, quickly take me to see that Earth-Armored Pig." Wang Daoyuan took him to the place where the ashes of the Earth-Armored Pig were. He pointed to a pile of ashes on the ground and said, "The Earth-Armored Pig is right here, and there's only a small pile of ashes left. What else can you see?" Wang Shui smiled. "If it can burn a second-rank mid-rank demonic beast to ashes, and not even its bones are left, then burning a second-rank high-rank demonic beast to death isn't difficult either. You can see the whole picture with a single glance. Is there any need to say more about the power of this formation?" Then he pointed to the 8 people near the distant formation eye and said, "I've also found the people controlling the formation for you. There's 1 cultivator of each of the 5 elements from the Hall of Guardians. In addition, there are people from the Hall of Spiritual Plants and Hall of Spiritual Wood. In addition, I've also found a student for you." Wang Daoyuan asked, "What student?" Wang Shui sighed and said, "My 26th brother, your 26th uncle Wang Shouzhe." Wang Daoyuan asked in surprise, "Aren't there only 25 people in this Shou generation?" Wang Shui nodded and said, "There used to be 25 but not anymore. Every generation of our Wang clan has 1 person who joins the underworld sect. 26th brother's father is 18th uncle, who joined the underworld sect in the Xi generation. 18th uncle just passed away not long ago. Originally he wanted to continue staying in the underworld sect, but after all he's only in his teens and hasn't entered the clan records. Dao Long and the other clansmen aren't close to him. It can be said that my 26th brother has no one to rely on in the school. Now that our Wang family has become a Zifu family, my 18th uncle wanted him to return to the family and acknowledge his ancestors before he died. The clansmen who joined the Netherworld sect were actually the reigning clans who were trying to block the disaster. They didn't take any of the clan's cultivation resources, so the clan owed them. Since the 18th uncle wanted the 26th brother to recognize his ancestors before he died, the family naturally couldn't refuse his last wish. This little brother's talent in cultivation wasn't very good, but he was quite talented in array formations. You're the only one in our family who knows about arrays, so you'll have to teach him. Also, I'll leave the 5 clansmen guarding the hall to you to train. At the very least, they should be able to fight well. Wang Daoyuan said, I was wondering where your curiosity came from, insisting on coming to see the ashes of the earth armor pig. Turns out you were waiting for me here. Alright, my parents are already in their 90s and don't have many years left to live. As a son, he had to take care of his parents in their old age. I won't be going out for the next few years, so it won't be a problem to train them. As for how much this little uncle can learn, it has nothing to do with me. Alright, you swaggered over on a flying boat. Has the Netherworld sect already expressed their stance? Wang Shui replied, it's spread all over Clear Glass City now. You're invincible in the same realm in Clear Glass City. It's their fortune to be able to teach them for a few years. As for the Netherworld sect, after they learned that our Wang family built a flying boat, they sent a message to 5th uncle. They allowed our Wang family to build flying boats, but they also gave some restrictions. The flying boat's length can't exceed 10 zhang, and its flying speed can't exceed 2 hours and 2,000 miles. In addition, the flying boats can only be used by ourselves and can't be sold. In addition, if the Netherworld sect needs it, they can conscript all of the Wang family's flying boats. Hearing this, Wang Daoyuan said with a smile, when did the Netherworld sect become so generous? I thought they'd say there won't be a next time and only allow us to build one. I didn't expect to give such relaxed conditions. Since the Netherworld sect has good intentions, then we can't let them down. We have to build 8 to 10 boats. Also, the Netherworld sect didn't seem to say whether we can install offensive and defensive magic artifacts. We can also arrange it. Also, how's the Netherworld sect going to fight the Beiyuan sword sect? I haven't been involved in the outside world these years, so I don't know much about it. The Wang family was in the critical period of developing Fallen Dragon Ridge. He didn't want to get involved in the war at this time. Wang Shui said with a smile, the Netherworld sect didn't mention installing offensive and defensive magic artifacts on the flying boats either. If you have the ability, do as you please. The Netherworld sect was very concerned about the Beiyuan sword sect at first. They sent many Zifu realm cultivators to the north of the mountain to negotiate with the demons and half-demons. But the demons and half-demons had a tough attitude, so they couldn't reach an agreement. The Netherworld sect also sent many experts to the north of the mountain to inquire about the news. Some of them returned with injuries. But since 2 years ago, the Netherworld sect's attitude changed. They didn't care too much about the north of the mountain, so they sent fewer people to the north of the mountain. According to your previous judgment, the Yin Qi in the Darkwater River should have recovered. The Netherworld sect was confident, so they didn't act rashly. The Myriad Spirit sect and the Cruel Sun Palace knew that the Zhao family was recruiting forces and preparing to make a comeback, so they didn't dare to act rashly. The 3 major sects are peaceful now, so the situation is very good for the Wang family. Wang Daoyuan said with a smile, it's good that it's stable. What I'm most afraid of is that the Zhao family will start to cause trouble before the Wang family can migrate. Now that the 3 major sects aren't fighting, the Zhao family won't dare to act rashly. Let's wait for a few more years. After we migrate our people, they can do whatever they want. After the two talked for a while, Wang Shui drove the flying boat back to the Jade Spring Peak alone. Wang Daoyuan returned to the neutral array core and assigned tasks to everyone. The 5 clan members guarding the hall were all at the bottom of the Dao generation. The 12th uncle also had the intention of training the disciples. Those who were sent were all above average and not weak in fighting. Letting them train here and earn more contribution points would make it easier to exchange for Foundation establishment elixirs in the future. To prevent demon beasts from sneaking up on them, the 5 elements dragon locking formation was normally in an active state. Each core array core was constantly extracting spirit energy from the spirit veins and breaking it down into the 5 elements. The concentration of spirit energy near the core array core was much higher than other places. Wang Daoyuan let them cultivate near the core array core, which was beneficial to their cultivation. Wang Daoyuan didn't need to arrange for the people sent by the spiritual plant hall and the spiritual wood hall. One of them went to find a place to open up spirit fields, while the other went to record the situation of the jade bone pine tree. As for little uncle Wang Shoujia, Wang Daoyuan gave him some of his own experiences on array formations, allowing him to comprehend them on his own. If there was anything he didn't understand, he would answer it. The 5 clan members guarding the hall were all very talented. They quickly grasped the method of controlling the array and even had some preliminary cooperation. Wang Daoyuan also acted as an invader, exchanging blows with the array controlled by the 5 of them. Sometimes he would also give them some pointers on spells. Among them, the one in charge of guarding the metal element core array core was the 27th brother, Wang Daojian. His metal spirit root was 7 inches and 4 inches long. The technique he cultivated was the gold demon incantation that Wang Daoyuan took from Qi Yun. It was very suitable for controlling the gold demon soul-severing sword. Wang Daojian was not yet 40 years old, but he was already at the 8th level of the Foundation Establishment realm. Furthermore, he was heavily groomed by the clan. He might have a chance to enter the Foundation Establishment realm in the future. He was upright and plain-spoken. His only flaw was that he liked to go to extremes. This kind of personality was very suitable for him to walk the path of a sword cultivator. If he could enter the Foundation Establishment realm in the future, Wang Daoyuan planned to pass on the things from the Guiyuan sword sect to him. The clan would have another clan member with outstanding combat abilities. Chapter 275. After the 5 brothers guarding the eye of the formation could control the formation proficiently and cooperate seamlessly, Wang Daoyuan opened a cave abode at the foot of Jade Pine Mountain and went into seclusion. To Wang Daoyuan, the best place to cultivate was near the non-elemental spirit vein. However, he was not cultivating in seclusion in the newly opened cave abode to increase his cultivation. Previously, he used the earth vein spirit elixir to increase his cultivation by 2 levels in 5 years. The speed was too fast and needed time to settle down. The purpose of his seclusion was to cultivate the art of refining. Previously, he was worried that the underworld sect would suppress the Wang family and limit the number of flying boats, so he did not have an urgent need for the art of refining. Now the underworld sect only limited the size and speed of the Wang family's flying boats, not the number. If the Wang family wanted to increase their strength, they naturally had to expand the market. The demand for flying boats would also increase. From Jade Pine Mountain to Jade Spring Peak, from Jade Spring Peak to Clear Glass Market, from Clear Glass Market to Heian Lake Market. Every material transportation line required at least 1 flying boat. In the future, the family would have to expand the market in the central part of Clear Glass County and even the southern part of Clear Glass County, so they would need many flying boats. In addition, they also needed flying boats specially used for battle. This was just a short-term demand. As the family continued to expand, the demand would also increase. They had to increase the number of flying boats as much as possible before the underworld sect reacted and limited the number of flying boats. Otherwise, their future expansion would be greatly restricted. Zhao Liang could not be counted on. This fellow's talent in refining was not very good, and his cultivation was low. It took him nearly a year to refine the outer shell of the flying boat. Counting on him to refine the core of the flying boat, who knew how long it would take? To refine a complete flying boat, he still had to rely on himself. Wang Daoyuan used the soul-splitting blade and cut out a subsoul from his own soul to replace the subsoul in Baisheng's Sea of Consciousness. He merged with the subsoul that Baisheng had nurtured for many years, and his divine sense power increased by 5%. After absorbing the refining experience in the subsoul, he officially started his own refining path. The refining path was divided into 3 parts: refining materials, forging, and inscribing patterns. With the experience of refining pills, refining materials was not difficult. His attainments in talisman and formation made inscribing patterns very simple. Coupled with the experience of Baisheng's doppelganger, Wang Daoyuan only took 3 to 4 months to master these 2 techniques. As for forging and molding, it was a general term for the processing of various materials. Previously, when he cooperated with Zhao Liang to cut the wooden planks and open the mortise, they could all be classified as forging and molding. As long as it wasn't a special artifact, forging it into shape was purely physical work. There wasn't any technical skill involved, so he could learn it slowly. 4 years passed in the blink of an eye. Wang Daoyuan relied on his attainments in alchemy, talisman, and array, as well as Baisheng's experience. In terms of crafting, he had already reached the second level of the middle grade. He was only a step away from the second level of the upper grade. Bai Sheng was currently only at this level and could not provide him with much experience. He could only walk his own path in the future. Wang Daoyuan originally wanted to raise his refining level to the upper grade of the second tier in one go, but bad news came from his family. His parents' lifespan had come to an end. He handed over the affairs of Jade Pine Mountain and summoned the Thunder Ape to temporarily guard this place. He then flew to Qingxi village on his sword. His parents were both 98 years old. Although they had been served with spirit grains and wild ginseng with spirit energy, they still hadn't reached the limit of a mortal's lifespan. When Wang Daoyuan returned home to Qingxi village, his parents were already on their deathbed. The mourning hall had already been set up at home. He took out a fierce blood boar from the space of the spirit pearl and used the azure dragon pearl to extract its vitality. Then he put away the fierce blood boar and controlled the azure dragon pearl to release a dark green light towards his parents. Their situation obviously improved. His mother looked at him and said, "Erwa, you're finally back. Your father and I can't hold on any longer. We can't see Sanhua again. We're already very happy to see you. You and Sanhua have both become immortals, but you haven't left behind any descendants. You can only rely on your brother's bloodline to carry on the family line. After your father and I die, we'll help take care of your brother's descendants." Wang Daoyuan's eyes were red. "Father, mother, don't worry. I'll take good care of my brother's descendants. I've already notified Sanhua. He'll be back soon." Birth, old age, sickness, and death were the laws of heaven and earth. If one couldn't live forever, they couldn't avoid it no matter what. No matter how strong the azure dragon pearl was, it couldn't go against the laws of heaven and earth. His parents were already at the end of their lives. The only thing Wang Daoyuan could do was let them live for a few more days. After 3 days, the azure dragon pearl could no longer sustain the lives of the two elders. They fell into a semi-coma again. At this time, Wang Daoyuan finally arrived at Qingxi village. Wang Daoyuan activated the azure dragon pearl again, letting the two elders wake up for a while longer. The two elders opened their eyes and saw Wang Daoyuan kneeling in front of the bed, his face full of tears. Wang Fu looked at his 3 sons. It was as if his body had recovered. He smiled and said, "I have no regrets in this life. Of my 3 sons, 2 have become immortals, and 1 has a family full of children and grandchildren. When I die, all 3 of my sons can send me off. The eldest son is immortal with a rich life. There's nothing to worry about. The second son has been steady since he was young. I'm not worried. Only you, Sanhua, have been reckless since you were young and walked the dangerous path of immortal cultivation. I don't ask you to make a name for yourself. I only ask that you can live a peaceful life." With that said, Wang Fu closed his eyes. Beside him, Madame Wang Yang also passed away. The 3 brothers knelt in front of the bed and wailed. After crying for an hour, Wang Meng stopped crying. He wiped his tears and began to preside over the funeral. According to the customs of mortals, the 2 elders had to stop for 7 days and wait for their relatives and friends to come and pay their respects. 2 hours later, Wang Shui personally came to Qingxi village to mourn on behalf of the family. Madame Wang Yang was from the Yang family. After she passed away, her family naturally had to be informed. The Yang family sent 2 cultivators, 1 male and 1 female, to pay their respects. The male was Yang Yulin, whom the Yang family had focused on nurturing. The female was Madame Wang Yang's niece, Yang Yuqing. According to the relationship of mortals, Yang Yuqing and Madame Wang Yang were not even 5 years old. Yang Yuqing was only in her 40s, and her cultivation had reached the 7th level of qi refinement. Her talent was not bad. The arrival of the 2 fully showed the Yang family's attitude. Next, the surrounding families heard the news and sent foundation establishment cultivators to pay their respects. Even a few clans from Heian County and Qingli County had sent people over. On the 7th day, even the Netherworld sect sent a foundation establishment cultivator to pay their respects. Finally, Yi Changxing of the Divine Weapon Pavilion also came to pay his respects. Dozens of foundation establishment cultivators came to pay their respects to 2 mortals. Even the Netherworld sect, one of the 3 major sects of the Zhao state, and the cultivators of the Divine Weapon Pavilion, a top force in Beiyuan Xiuxian. In the cultivation world, it was considered an unheard of story. After 7 days, Wang Daoyuan personally cremated the bodies of the 2 elders. The 2 elders were the parents of Wang Daoyuan and Wang Daoyin. If they left their bodies behind, there were many evil techniques that could be used to deal with the 2 brothers. For the sake of their parents' peace and the safety of the 2 brothers, it was better to cremate them. According to the family's rules, the two elders could be buried in the family cemetery on Jade Spring Peak. Wang Meng carried the soul summoning banner, while Wang Daoyuan and Wang Daoyin each carried an urn of ashes. They took the family's flying boat to Jade Spring Peak. The two elders were buried together in the family cemetery, in a place reserved for the Shou generation. After the burial, the two's memorial tablets were invited to the ancestral temple. According to the family's rules, the memorial tablets of the ordinary clansmen were placed beside the memorial tablets of the cultivators. Because of Wang Daoyuan's great contributions and Wang Daoyin's high status, the two elders' memorial tablets were placed together with the memorial tablets of the Shou generation cultivators. The two's names were also recorded in the family register. Chapter 276. According to the standard of an elder's death, the family mourned for the two elders for 3 months. In Beiyuan Xiuxian, there was no rule of observing mourning for one's parents for 3 years. After the three brothers observed mourning for the two elders on Jade Spring Peak for 3 months, the mourning period was over. Wang Daoyuan personally steered the flying boat to send his eldest brother off Jade Spring Peak. When they arrived at Qingxi village, a group of juniors greeted them at the door. Dahe also hung its head and stood to the side. It was raised by the two elders, and it was also very sad when the two elders passed away. Dahe's cultivation was equivalent to a human cultivator at the peak of qi refining. Without the foundation establishment stage, spirit beasts could become second-rank demonic beasts at any time. Beside Dahe stood a child about 10 years old who looked very smart. Wang Daoyuan pointed at the child and asked, "This is the great-grandson with the spiritual root, right? He should be 10 years old now." Wang Meng nodded and said, "Yes, it's him." Wang Daoyuan took out a qi testing disc and asked the little guy to put his hand on it. After a while, 3 light beams appeared on the qi testing disc: green, black, and yellow. The green light beam was the highest, reaching 7.6 centimeters. The black and yellow light beams were only slightly more than an inch. He had 3 spiritual roots and his main spiritual root was 7.6 centimeters. He could be considered a genius. Although Wang Daoyuan had 5 spiritual roots, his comprehension was excellent, and he could be considered a genius in the cultivation arts and magic arts. He had a hidden thunder body and he was also a rare genius. The two brothers were both geniuses with poor spiritual roots, but this great-grandson became a genius completely by relying on his spiritual roots. Wang Daoyuan said with a smile, "We finally have a normal genius in our family." Hearing this, Wang Meng's face lit up and he asked, "Is this child very talented?" Wang Daoyuan replied, "He's considered to be very talented. Just looking at spiritual roots, he's better than me and third brother. As long as he cultivates well in the future, and with my help, it won't be difficult for him to reach the foundation establishment stage." Wang Meng was overjoyed and said, "It seems that there's hope for me to enter the ancestral temple and serve the ancestors in 100 years. Wang Daoyuan smiled and said, "That's not difficult at all. There's nothing going on at home, so I'll take my great-grandson to Jade Spring Peak first." After saying that, he steered the flying boat back to Jade Spring Peak. The third brother Wang Daochang was the grand elder. Whenever there was a new cultivator in the clan, it was only natural that they would report to him. When Wang Daochang found out that there was a little genius with a 7-inch spiritual root in the family, he immediately arranged for a ceremony to acknowledge his ancestors. Because the little guy was not a direct descendant of Wang Daoyuan and Wang Daoyin, he could not be treated according to the secular hierarchy. Therefore he was classified as a member of the Ming generation. He was ranked 30th and was given the name Wang Mingshan. Because of the system proposed by Wang Daoyuan, as long as a cultivator's close relatives were pregnant, the clan would distribute spirit grains to them. Therefore in recent years, there were more cultivators among the clan's newborns. The oldest person in the Ming generation was in his 30s, but there were already 30 cultivators in the group. It was estimated that the number of cultivators in the Ming generation would exceed 50. It had been more than 3 months since Wang Daoyin returned home, and it was time for him to leave. Before leaving, he handed a storage pouch to Zhao Liang saying, "Senior martial brother, master asked me to pass something to you. He also asked me to tell you that although your talent is a bit lacking, you are still his disciple. He doesn't want you to die before him." Zhao Liang took the storage pouch and cupped his hands in thanks. Wang Daoyin then handed another storage pouch to Wang Daoyuan saying, "Master said that with your comprehension, it would be a pity if you didn't master all 4 paths. He wants you to practice the art of refining. He also wants to see what you can achieve by mastering all 4 paths. These are some of his refining insights, not the inheritance of the divine weapon pavilion. He wants you to study them well. Zhao Liang joked on the side, that old man is biased. Why didn't he give me his refining insights? Wang Daoyin laughed, Master said that your talent in refining is too poor. Unless you get lucky you will at most be a third-tier upper-grade refiner. His insights won't be of much use to you. Zhao Liang was unconvinced and laughed. No matter what, your senior martial brother is still a second-tier middle-grade refiner. How dare you say that to me? Wang Daoyin laughed, I'm also a second-tier middle-grade refiner now. There's not much distance between me and second-tier upper-grade. Wang Daoyuan continued, my younger brother followed Master Lei Yan for 20 years and is already a second-tier middle-grade. Brother-in-law, how many years have you followed Master Lei Yan? Zhao Liang was speechless for a long time and pretended to be angry. Don't meddle in our refiner's business as an outsider. Wang Daoyuan took out a long sword and said, Brother-in-law, this is my practice work. Is it to your liking? Zhao Liang took the long sword and examined it carefully. He saw that the long sword was made of spiritual wood and there were faint golden threads on it. The material should be the branch of a golden silk jade peach. There were no obvious flaws on the entire long sword, whether it was the tool patterns or the material. The material used was second-tier lower grade, but it was a second-tier middle-grade longsword. This level of refinement was at least at the peak of second-tier middle-grade refiners. He was limited by his cultivation and there were inevitable mistakes in the various processes. It was impossible for him to forge a near-perfect second-tier magic weapon. After a long time, he threw the long sword to Wang Daoyuan and said, I can't be bothered to lower myself to your level. I want to see what Master has given me. After opening the storage bag, his nose turned sour. Master still loves me. Wang Daoyuan laughed. Isn't it just a foundation establishment pill? Is there a need for this? Zhao Liang was a little shocked and asked, how do you know it's a foundation establishment pill? Even Violet Palace realm cultivators can't see through the storage bag refined by Master. How did you do it? Wang Daoyuan said in disdain, Master Lei Yan is famous throughout his life. Why did he take in such a stupid disciple like you? Master Lei Yan doesn't want to see his son die before him. Don't you understand? Don't just stand there. Hurry up and prepare for foundation establishment. You and I are close in age, already over 70 years old. The success rate of foundation establishment isn't high. Do you need me to give you some blood jade ginseng soup? Zhao Liang laughed. No need. Master has already thought about it. I'm only over 70 years old. My qi and blood haven't declined much. A few blood essence pills are enough. This time it was Wang Daoyuan's turn to be unhappy. This blood essence pill was a third-tier middle-grade medicinal pill. After taking the blood essence pill, foundation establishment cultivators under 100 years old wouldn't be affected by the decline of qi and blood. He sighed. It's still good to have a golden core cultivator as a master. Brother, go back and tell Master Lei Yan that if I beat my brain silly will he accept me? The three of them laughed. Afterwards, Wang Daoyin left Jade Spring Peak with a large amount of food and returned to Divine Weapon Pavilion. Zhao Liang started to prepare for foundation establishment. His main spiritual root was a fire spiritual root. It wasn't suitable for foundation establishment on Jade Spring Peak. Since his family had Jade Pine Mountain, a non-elemental spiritual vein, he might as well let him build his foundation there. The flying boat wasn't here. Wang Daoyuan summoned Yun Yi and asked her to carry Zhao Liang to Jade Pine Mountain. Now that there was a flying boat, Yun Yi had a competitor. Her business wasn't so good, and the momentum of her body's expansion was restrained. In the future, if he refined more flying boats, Yun Yi wouldn't have any business to do. She should still have hope of returning to her normal tiger appearance. The barbecued meat had already been handed over to Yun Yi. Zhao Liang said, bring Daoshu. Master gave her 4 foundation establishment pills. Let her try to build her foundation too. Yun Yi was now a second-tier high-grade demonic beast. Her intelligence had also increased. She began to roast meat according to the number of people. Carrying 2 people to Jade Pine Mountain, she wanted to double the amount of barbecued meat. Chapter 277. The 3 people and 1 tiger arrived at Jadesong Mountain. Before they even landed, they sensed intense spiritual energy fluctuations coming from the east side of the mountain range. Clearly there were people fighting. Jade Pine Mountain's defensive barrier had already been activated, and no one outside could enter. Wang Daoyuan ordered Yun Yi to carry the 2 of them high up in the sky to avoid being ambushed by other demonic beasts. He then rode on his sword and went to the battle area to check the situation. When they reached the easternmost part of Jadesong Mountain, They saw the lightning ape fighting 2 high-grade Tier 2 demonic beasts and 3 mid-grade Tier 2 demonic beasts. The thunder ape had also become an upper-grade Tier 2 demonic beast. It wielded a long staff in its hand. This staff was a middle-grade Tier 2 Dharma artifact, and its main material was the golden silk jade peach branch. At the two ends of the long staff were iron hoops made of glazed flame mysterious iron, a material with the dual attributes of gold and fire, and there were also half-inch long thorns on the hoops. This long rod was called the glazed flame mysterious iron rod. It was specially forged by Zhao Liang for the lightning ape. Because the thunder ape was of the lightning attribute refining materials were too rare. Most people would have a hard time finding them, so they could only use the hardest materials to refine them. The glazed flame mysterious iron rod didn't have any other functions. Its biggest feature was its sturdiness. Of course, the thunder ape didn't bother to use any special abilities. Although this rod was simple, when combined with the thunder ape's powerful strength and nimble body, its power was not small. Moreover, he was dealing with demonic beasts that didn't know how to use magic tools. The thunder ape was at a disadvantage as the demonic beasts outnumbered it. However, the clansmen guarding the eye of the formation did not just stand by and watch. They controlled the formation and used the baleful gold soul-severing sword and the blazing gourd to attack the demonic beasts. The demonic beasts also knew that the array was not to be trifled with, so they did not dare to get too close to the array. Once the lightning ape couldn't hold on any longer, it would retreat to the front of the formation to rest. Once it had more or less recovered, it would continue to fight with the demonic beasts. Wang Daoyuan observed from the sky for a long time and found that these demonic beasts were furious. Why did it feel like the thunder ape was the one who provoked them? Why did it feel like they were chasing after the thunder ape? This seemed like something the lightning ape would do. That fellow often bullied other demonic beasts around the Linji mountain. The demonic beasts around Linji mountain were relatively weaker. Even if they were bullied, they did not dare to speak up. Most likely, if he were to continue doing this on Jadesong mountain, there would be too many demonic beasts around and they would be too strong to swallow their anger. However, this was also a good opportunity. Usually, when he tried to lure these second-level high-grade demonic beasts, they would stay in their nests and not come out no matter what. He didn't dare to go in and fight in case he was blocked by the other demonic beasts in the cave. Now that this group of demonic beasts had left their nest and ran to the foot of Jade Pine Mountain, they were courting death. Now that there were clansmen on the mountain, some secrets could not be exposed. The Golden Rock Wrestling Dragon technique was the only spell that didn't expose its secrets and still had extremely powerful destructive power. During the duel between the two sects, the Golden Rock Wrestling Dragon technique had shone brilliantly. The entire state of Zhao knew about his return, so there was nothing to hide. He condensed the shadow of the golden rock in the air and then flew down on his sword. Although demonic beasts had weak divine senses, they usually had unique senses in terms of vision, hearing, smell, and so on. Wang Daoyuan didn't try to hide himself, and the demonic beasts had already discovered him. However, he was high up in the sky and the demonic beast's divine senses were not strong enough, so they did not know what his cultivation was like. Seeing that he didn't make a move, he didn't think much of it. At this moment he used the Golden Rock Wrestling Dragon technique and swooped down. As he got closer, the demonic beasts felt the intense spiritual power fluctuations from the Golden Rock's shadow and were somewhat shocked. The second-rank mid-grade demonic beast wanted to escape, but the remaining two second-rank superior-grade demonic beasts were more confident in their own strength. With their advantage in numbers, it would be easy to deal with a late-stage foundation establishment and a second-rank superior-grade spirit beast. Although the Golden Rock's shadow was very intimidating to demonic beasts, it only looked scary to terrestrial demonic beasts. It did not have the kind of suppression that came from the depths of their bloodline. The two second-rank demonic beasts thought that they could take 2 hits. After all, the shadow formed by a spell couldn't compare to them in terms of physical strength. These two second-rank superior-grade demonic beasts were both golden-striped tigers. Their size and cultivation were about the same, so they might be from the same nest. Tiger-type demonic beasts were among the best in terms of combat strength among their peers. Golden-striped tigers were metal-type demonic beasts. Their fur was white, and their stripes were golden. Their claws and teeth were comparable to second-rank superior-grade magic weapons. Coupled with their powerful physical strength, few demonic beasts of the same level could match them in terms of physical strength. These two golden-striped tigers also lived in Fallen Dragon Ridge. The two mountains they occupied were very close to each other, both on the east side of Jade Pine Mountain. Wang Daoyuan swooped down rapidly. With the Golden Rock's shadow in front, the two golden-striped tigers did not dodge. Instead, they were prepared for a physical fight. When the Golden Rock's shadow was 50 to 60 feet away from the Golden Striped Tigers, Wang Daoyuan controlled the Golden Rock's shadow and released 100 feather blades to attack one of the Golden Striped Tigers. The Golden Striped Tiger that was attacked was covered with silver spiritual energy. It stood up like a human and slapped with its front paws like a cat. The Golden Striped Tiger's physical strength was not weak. Its two paws slapped rapidly, creating afterimages. Soon, it had slapped down 70 to 80 feather blades. The remaining feather blades hit the Golden Striped Tiger's body, but the silver spiritual energy on its body blocked them. The feather blades did not penetrate the silver spiritual energy. The Golden Striped Tiger was unharmed and let out an excited roar. Wang Daoyuan was taunted by a big white cat, so he directly threw out the remaining 900 feather blades. Then he took out a jar of spirit peach dew and drank a few mouthfuls to recover his spiritual energy. When the other demonic beasts saw that the feather blades were only SOSO, they became spirited. The 5 demonic beasts blocked the feather blades together. Wang Daoyuan's main goal was to deal with the 2 Golden Striped Tigers. Most of the feather blades were aimed at them. Only 100 or so feather blades hit the 3 mid-grade rank 2 demonic beasts. The 3 mid-grade rank 2 demonic beasts were instantly turned into beehives. The 2 Golden Striped Tigers could not block many of the feather blades. Most of the feather blades hit their bodies. The silver spiritual energy shield was broken. The 2 high-grade rank 2 demonic beasts were beaten black and blue. It was difficult for them to even stand up. The Thunder Ape was bullied by the 2 Golden Striped Tigers for a long time. How could it let them go so easily? It swung the glazed flame mysterious iron rod and hit the tiger's head a few times. The 2 Golden Striped Tigers' heads split open, and there were no longer any signs of life. Seeing that the battle was over, the people on the mountain removed the defensive shield. Yunyi carried the 2 of them and landed on the mountain. Wang Daoyuan pried off the teeth and claws of the 2 Golden Striped Tigers. These were good materials for refining high-grade rank 2 artifacts. He didn't care about the remaining materials, but the clansmen on the mountain cared. Jade Pine Mountain had already opened up more than 200 mu of spiritual fields. 500 to 600 ordinary clansmen had been moved here. There were also more than 10 cultivators here to take care of the spiritual fields and cut spiritual trees. Then Wang Daoyuan ordered Yunyi. He brought Zhao Liang and 8th sister to the cave residence he had previously opened and let them cultivate in seclusion here. Zhao Liang entered the cave residence first and began to build his foundation. Wang Daoyuan guarded him outside, so the defensive restriction in the cave residence was not opened. In order to prevent being disturbed by foreign demonic beasts when building his foundation, Wang Daoyuan ordered the brothers guarding the Formation Eye to open the defensive shield of the 5 Elements Dragon Lock Formation. An hour later, a spiritual energy vortex with a diameter of 50 to 60 feet appeared above the cave residence. Zhao Liang had 3 spiritual roots. This spiritual energy vortex was much smaller than when 8th uncle and 9th aunt were building their foundation. His talent was naturally not as good as 8th uncle and 9th aunt. After a quarter of an hour, the spiritual energy vortex suddenly disappeared. This was a sign that the breakthrough had failed. After the spiritual energy vortex disappeared, the spiritual energy in Zhao Liang's dantian exploded. Although Zhao Liang had taken the foundation establishment pill and his life would not be in danger, it was inevitable that his meridians and dantian would be damaged. He was already over 70 years old, so it was not impossible for him to have more serious injuries. Wang Daoyuan immediately rushed into the cave residence and helped Zhao Liang protect his meridians and dantian. 8th sister was stomping her feet outside anxiously, but she did not dare to enter rashly. She was a peak chi refinement cultivator, so she couldn't help even if she went in. She would only interfere with Wang Daoyuan's rescue. Chapter 278. As soon as Wang Daoyuan entered the cave, he saw that Zhao Liang's face was in pain, and the spirit energy in his body was fluctuating violently. In this situation, the spirit energy would soon erupt. But now was not the time to hesitate. He directly sent his spiritual sense into Zhao Liang's dantian to suppress the spirit energy that was running amok. With his spiritual sense that was comparable to a peak foundation establishment cultivator, it was not difficult to suppress the violent spirit energy of a failed foundation establishment cultivator. Zhao Liang felt that the spirit energy in his body was no longer running amok, and his meridians and dantian were no longer in unbearable pain. He slowly opened his eyes and saw Wang Daoyuan's figure. He was about to speak, but Wang Daoyuan cut him off. No need for nonsense, I'm only helping you temporarily suppress the spirit energy that has gone out of control. Do you plan to deal with this spirit energy now, or wait until my spiritual sense is exhausted and the medicinal effect of the Foundation Establishment pill is exhausted, and then directly explode and die? Hearing this, Zhao Liang naturally did not dare to be negligent. He asked nervously, "What should I do?" Wang Daoyuan smiled. "Do you cultivate any spells that consume large amounts of spirit energy? Feel free to use them. Your problem is that there is too much spirit energy in your body. Your body cannot bear it and you cannot control your spiritual sense. Just use up the excess spirit energy." Zhao Liang did not respond. Violent spirit energy fluctuations appeared between his hands. After a while, a fiery red ball of spirit energy condensed between his hands. He did not release the ball of spirit energy. Instead, he continued to pour the spirit energy in his body into the ball of spirit energy. Only when the ball of spirit energy reached the limit of his spiritual senses control did he release it. The crimson ball of spirit energy instantly turned into the illusion of a flaming bird with a wingspan of 50 to 60 feet. This flaming bird was shaped like a red-crowned crane, but it only had one leg. Its specific appearance was not very clear. Wang Daoyuan recognized this bird. It was the legendary divine bird, Beiyuan. When it appeared, it indicated that a great fire was about to break out. After the Beiyuan divine bird illusion took shape, it kept circling in the cave. It spat out flames, igniting the rocks around the cave. Wang Daoyuan also used the water dragon technique to extinguish all the flames in the cave. After a quarter of an hour, Zhao Liang withdrew the Beiyuan illusion and said, "I'm fine now. Thank you for your help, Daoyuan. Otherwise, I'd have to recuperate for a few years before I could try to build my foundation again." But now, even though he failed to build his foundation, he's still completely unharmed. Wang Daoyuan laughed and said, "It's a small matter. I can't just watch brother-in-law get seriously injured. However, your Beiyuan divine bird shadow is not weak. The Zhao royal clan plays with water. I've never heard of them having such a trick." Zhao Liang replied. "This isn't an inheritance of the Zhao clan, and it was passed down to me by my master. I heard that he obtained it from killing a Violet Palace realm cultivator all those years ago. Since it's not master's direct inheritance, nor is it something from the Divine Weapon Pavilion, why don't I pass it to you?" Wang Daoyuan waved his hand and said, "I wouldn't dare. If I learn Lei Yan's magic without his permission, I'm afraid he'll take care of me." Zhao Liang shook his head and said with a smile, "I understand master's temperament. He actually really wants to take you as his disciple. It's just that your cultivation method is very advanced, and he can't give you a better cultivation method. You're a cultivator with 5 spiritual roots, so he won't be able to teach you too much. He feels that taking you as his disciple will be hindering your future. From the moment he gave you his refining experience, I can be sure that he already sees you as his disciple. He didn't care about a spell that he had snatched from others. I'll pass this magic to you and you can just let me see your refining experience." Wang Daoyuan looked at Zhao Liang with a strange expression and said, "Brother-in-law, you're waiting for me here. You know that I like to train in all kinds of magic, so you use this thing to tempt me in exchange for refining experience. Alright, I've already memorized this refining experience. I was originally going to give it to you. You're also Lei Yan's disciple, so he shouldn't blame me for passing this thing to you." Finished speaking, he took out a beast skin book and handed it to Zhao Liang. Zhao Liang also took out a jade slip and handed it to him. Wang Daoyuan took the jade slip and asked, "Your failure this time should be caused by your spiritual sense being unable to continue compressing spiritual energy. You've been refining for so many years, your spiritual sense shouldn't be weak. How did this happen?" Zhao Liang smiled bitterly and said, "When I was young, I saw my parents and relatives die one by one, leaving behind an inner demon. When I was concentrating on compressing spiritual energy, the scene of my parents being killed would appear in front of my eyes. Then, I would be distracted and lose control of my spiritual energy was caused by my distraction. Daoyuan, you're experienced and knowledgeable, so do you know how to eliminate an inner demon?" Wang Daoyuan thought for a while and said, "I've had an inner demon since I was young. When I was 20, I participated in the Battle of Guiyan Valley. 7 of my granduncles died in battle. I was stimulated and saw through the confusion in my heart, eliminating the inner demon. Your situation is really hard to say. You can use a magic tool to suppress the inner demon. When you're building your foundation, the inner demon's influence is far less than when you're establishing your Violet Palace. A low-grade second-tier magic tool to suppress inner demons should be enough." Zhao Liang nodded and said, "We'll talk about it later. It's useless for me to continue building my foundation now. Let Daoshu build her foundation first." Finished speaking, he transmitted his voice to Wang Daoshu. Wang Daoshu immediately ran in. When she saw Zhao Liang safe and sound, the dark clouds on her face dissipated and she smiled. Zhao Liang gave her a storage pouch and said, "Daoshu, I'm troubled by an inner demon and can't build my foundation for the time being. You go first." Wang Daoshu didn't refuse. She nodded and took the storage pouch. Wang Daoyuan and Zhao Liang walked out of the cave and waited for Wang Daoshu to build her foundation. An hour later, a whirlpool of spiritual aura with a diameter of about 5 feet appeared above the cave. Eighth sister was a cultivator with 3 spiritual roots. Her main spiritual root was a wood spiritual root, so her talent could only be considered average. 2 hours later, the whirlpool of spiritual aura gradually became smaller and finally disappeared. Wang Daoyuan smiled and said, "My sister is still smarter. You have to work hard. You don't have to worry about magic tools to suppress inner demons. When my refining level reaches high-grade 2nd tier and I refine a few flying boats for the family, I'll go to the north of the mountain to gain experience. The extreme cold ice in the north of the mountain has many good things to suppress inner demons. I'll bring some back for you." Zhao Liang smiled and said, "Thank you, 7th brother." A quarter of an hour later, 8th sister came out of the cave and threw herself into Zhao Liang's arms, saying, "Brother Liang, I succeeded." Wang Daoyuan left the scene on his sword and transmitted a message to the two. "The family has been in the limelight for many years. Going too far is as bad as falling short. It's better to keep a low profile. You two stay here for the time being and don't easily show your faces outside. I'll leave this cave to you. I'll go to the north of the mountain and open up another one." The original cave was in the middle of the south of the mountain. Wang Daoyuan ran to the east of the mountain and opened up a new cave. He had just killed 5 demonic beasts, so no other demonic beasts would dare to court death. In order to prevent the Thunder Ape from attracting more demonic beasts, Wang Daoyuan sent him to the east of Jade Pine Mountain to take over the territory of the 2 golden-striped tigers. For the time being, the family didn't have enough manpower to develop more territories. They could only let the Thunder Ape occupy that area and harm the surrounding demonic beasts. This was to prevent other high-grade 2nd-tier demonic beasts from occupying the mountain and threatening the safety of Jade Pine Mountain. Wang Daoyuan went to the newly opened cave and practiced refining techniques. He wanted to become a high-grade 2nd-tier weapon refiner as soon as possible and repair the real wave-chasing boat. Then he would build a few more flying boats for the family to facilitate the family's business expansion. Also, he practiced the spells that he exchanged with Zhao Liang. The fire attribute was a powerful attack spell, but Wang Daoyuan didn't have a powerful fire attribute spell. The only high-grade spell that was related to the fire attribute was the Meteor Fall spell, which was mainly used to smash people. Now that he had a high-grade fire attribute spell, how could he let it go? Chapter 279. Wang Daoyuan took out the jade slip he had exchanged with Zhao Liang and used his divine sense to explore it. The Dharma spell recorded in the jade slip was called the Heaven-Burning Divine Flame Technique. It condensed the image of the divine bird, Bai Fong, and controlled the flames to attack the enemy. Other divine birds that played with fire mostly had their own unique divine flames. However, the Bai Fong divine bird was different. The flames it produced were not powerful. The Bai Fong divine bird's most powerful ability was to control external flames and make them stronger. This heaven-burning divine flame technique was a level 3 Dharma spell created by a peak Zifu realm cultivator. He had once raised a spiritual bird with the bloodline of the Bai Fong divine bird. He imitated the attacks of that spiritual bird to create the heaven-burning divine flame technique. The Bai Fong image condensed by the heaven-burning divine flame technique also imitated the Bai Fong divine bird's ability to control fire. If it was cast near the lava of a volcano, the heaven-burning divine flame technique would be extremely powerful. It could even surpass many level 4 Dharma spells. However, if there was no geographical advantage, its power would not even be ranked among the level 3 Dharma spells. When casting the heaven-burning divine flame technique, if combined with spirit fire, its power would not be weaker than a level 4 Dharma spell. As long as it was a flame, no matter how special it was, the Bai Fong divine bird would be able to control it. Wang Daoyuan was excited. If the Bai Fong divine bird image could control the 3 types of spirit fire in his space, he would have another powerful trump card. It took him 2 days to successfully condense the Bai Fong's shadow. Next, he would try to see if the Bai Fong divine bird image could control spirit fire of different attributes. The dust returning flame and Gui water death flame were too powerful. It was safer to use the life spirit fire. He drew out a wisp of life spirit fire from the space of the spirit pearl and cast the heaven-burning divine flame technique to condense the Beiyuan divine bird image. The Beiyuan divine bird image flew past the life spirit fire. The originally soybean-sized flame instantly grew to more than 3 inches tall. The flame grew dozens of times bigger, and the consumption of spirit power was only 2 to 3 times faster. Wang Daoyuan was secretly delighted. He would have another powerful trump card in the future. He increased the consumption of spirit power and made the flame grow to several feet tall. The Beiyuan divine bird image drew the flame to itself. The fiery red Beiyuan divine bird image was wrapped in a layer of jade-green flames. The Beiyuan's shadow flapped its wings, and a green spiritual fire flew out and hit the stone wall of the cave. The flames hit the stone wall and some dirt fell off. After that, nothing happened. The life spirit fire only contained wood attribute spiritual energy and life force. Its offensive characteristic was that it could extract life force from living things when it burned them. This attack characteristic had no effect on the stone, and some of the dirt that fell was also eroded by the wood attribute spiritual energy. Wang Daoyuan stopped sending out his wood attribute spiritual power, and the green flames gradually extinguished. Then he took out a wisp of returning dust flame from his space. This thing could burn anything to ashes. The Beiyuan's shadow was soon wrapped in a layer of earthy yellow flames. It controlled the flames to hit the stone wall. The earthy yellow flames burned on the stone wall, and the fire continued to expand. In the span of a dozen breaths, a hole with a diameter of over 20 feet and a depth of over a foot was burned into the stone wall. If he had this divine flames burning the heavens technique earlier, he wouldn't have had to dig a hole underground for 10 years. At most, he would have been able to finish it in 1 or 2 years. Wang Daoyuan stopped sending out earth attribute spiritual energy, but the earth attribute spiritual energy produced by the returning dust flame burning the stone was enough to support the burning. After he cut off the supply of earth attribute spiritual energy, the returning dust flame was still burning fiercely. He could only use the power of his divine sense to control the Beiyuan's shadow and withdraw the returning dust flame. In the span of a few breaths, the size of the flame had increased several times. If he took out the fire seed of the returning dust flame and absorbed these flames, its power would increase by a lot. However, Wang Daoyuan didn't dare to let the returning dust flame grow too quickly. Currently, in the space of the soul pearl, there wasn't a single blade of grass growing within a foot of the returning dust flame. If it continued to grow without limit, the entire space would be barren. These flames couldn't be wasted. Wang Daoyuan used the 5 spirits immortal transformation technique to extract the essence of the flames and strengthen the earth attribute spiritual energy seed in his body. It took him a day to completely refine all the essence, and the earth attribute spiritual energy seed also grew a little. Now, the 3 spiritual energy seeds in his body were all the size of a longan. The special spiritual energy produced was also very pure, but now that the 5 elemental seeds were incomplete, he couldn't use the 5 spirits immortal transformation technique's advantage in cultivation speed. Exchanging Lei Yan's insights for the divine sky burning art with Zhao Liang was a great deal. He had already memorized the contents of the insights and even had his clone make a copy of it. He didn't lose anything by giving the original to Zhao Liang, and he could even gain a powerful trump card. Now that he had reached the entry level of the divine sky burning art, his accumulation was still far from enough to break through to the Violet Palace realm. There was no need to rush to increase his cultivation, and the most important thing now was to improve his refining technique. His divine sense was strong enough to purify materials and inscribe array patterns. These 2 technical tasks were not difficult for him. As long as he practiced for a period of time, it would be easy for him to become a second-grade high-grade tool refiner. He had obtained 4 fangs and 36 claw tips from killing the demonic beasts. These were all good materials for refining second-grade high-grade artifacts. These fangs were about 2 feet long, and with the sword hilt they were about 2 feet long. They could be used as flying swords. The claw tips were relatively small, and the largest was only about 5 inches long. It was a little difficult to refine them into flying swords, so he could only refine them into daggers or throwing knives. The strength of the claw tips couldn't be compared to the fangs, and their value was much lower. They were more suitable for practice. After half a year, Wang Daoyuan finally used up all the claws. Due to his level, he only managed to refine 20 daggers. Among them, there were 4 low-grade second-grade daggers, 11 mid-grade second-grade daggers, and 5 high-grade second-grade daggers. Since he could refine 5 high-grade second-grade daggers, his refining standard had also reached the second grade. Next was to refine the 4 fangs. The fangs of the golden-striped tiger, which was comparable to a pinnacle foundation establishment stage cultivator. Wang Daoyuan specifically asked the 12th uncle for some blood pattern steel to refine the sword hilt. The blood pattern steel was also a high-grade second-grade material. The blood pattern steel had a natural blood-like pattern on it, which was how it got its name. Its strength was extremely high, and the natural blood-like pattern was easy for spiritual power to pass through. It was very suitable for refining offensive Dharma artifacts. The greatest value of the blood pattern steel was its blood-like pattern. It wasn't suitable for smelting and could only be forged. When forging, he had to be careful not to damage the blood-like pattern too much. The fangs were made of bone, so they couldn't even be forged, let alone smelted. He cleaned up the impurities in the fangs and sharpened the edges on both sides of the fangs. He forged the blood pattern steel so that its shape was just right for the fangs. After that, he added some melted second-grade metal materials to fill in the gaps and glued the blood pattern steel and the fangs together. At this point, the forging process was completed, and the next step was to inscribe the pattern. This thing could be used against other Dharma artifacts, and the main thing was to inscribe some patterns to increase the Dharma artifact's strength. In addition, he had to inscribe some sharpness, spirit-breaking and armor-breaking patterns. When using the sword to attack, it would be easier to break the opponent's defensive spells and spirit armor. The two main materials couldn't be smelted, so forging the blood pattern steel didn't take much effort. The main work was inscribing the pattern. After inscribing the pattern, the Dharma artifact was also completed. The value of the materials was high, and he was also very diligent. It took him more than 4 months to refine the 4 fangs. The 4 fangs didn't fail, but there were serious mistakes in the inscribing of the pattern on 2 of them. Although he tried his best to fix it, it still caused the grade to drop and become a middle-grade second-grade Dharma artifact. The other 2 fangs didn't have any major mistakes and were both refined into high-grade second-grade Dharma artifacts. The 4 fangs were used to refine 2 short swords, and the other 2 weren't completely failures. This level wasn't considered weak among high-grade second-grade Dharma artificers. Chapter 280. Wang Daoyuan named Fang's short sword the Tiger Fiend Sword, and the dagger the Tiger Claw Blade. Now that the magic tool had been refined, his refining level had reached high-grade Tier 2. It was time to repair the wave-chasing flying boat that he had bought decades ago. After the new flying boat was refined, the wave-chasing flying boat was handed over to Wang Daoyuan. He took out the wave-chasing flying boat and injected spirit power into it. The flying boat returned to its original size of 5 feet long and 1 foot wide. Wang Daoyuan took apart the entire outer shell of the flying boat. The deck inside of the boat were made of ordinary materials, and their strength was far worse than iron quinoa wood. He naturally would not keep these rubbish materials, and replaced them all with iron quinoa wood. The keel was still in good condition, and the material was also Tier 2 spirit wood. The size control formation on it could still be used, so there was no need to replace it for the time being. The ribs were damaged, so he replaced them all. The ribs were connected to the keel and supported the frame of the flying boat. The material requirements were higher, so they were all replaced with jade bone pine wood. After removing the outer hull, ribs, keel, cabin, and other things, the core of the flying boat that was inscribed with propulsion and floating formations was exposed. The refining level of this core component was far worse than Lei Yanjinren's. The refining level of the refiner was about the same as his. It was estimated that this guy's spiritual sense cultivation was not good enough, and his level of inscribing formation patterns and refining materials was worse than his. Unlike Lei Yanjinren's flying boat core, the core of the wave-chasing flying boat was refined with a mixture of Tier 2 metal materials. At that time, the old man who sold the flying boat did not ask for much. The core material of the flying boat was indeed worth 1 or 2,000 spirit stones. Apart from the inferior refining level, the components were not much different from the flying boat core refined by Lei Yanjinren. The damage to the core of the wave-chasing flying boat was not as serious as imagined. Only a few components were damaged, and the formation patterns inscribed on them were also affected. Although the 2 formations did not have much practical use, they still retained their basic functions, indicating that the formation patterns could still be used. Although the flying boat core was not much, it still had an advantage which was easy to repair. Because the flying boat core was made of Tier 2 metal materials, it could be smelted and recast, and did not need to be completely replaced. Furthermore, there were a few damaged components, and the formation patterns had not completely lost their effectiveness. He didn't even need to recast it. All he needed to do was fill in the cracks and the damaged parts with other metal materials and repair the damaged formation patterns. Then the entire core of the flying boat would be fine. The core of the flying boat was not seriously damaged. Wang Daoyuan only spent a few days to repair it. Next, he did not assemble the other parts of the flying boat. Instead, he directly copied the wave-chasing boat. Although he had carefully observed the core of the flying boat that Taoist Lei Yan had refined, it was still his first time refining it after all. It was better to have a real object as a reference. There was no need to worry about the materials needed to refine the core. Yuni would stay at Jade Pine Mountain. If she lacked any materials, she would send a message to the 12th uncle and ask Yuni to bring them over. The core material of the flying boat was star steel, a high-grade Tier 2 material. It was a metallic material, but the spiritual energy it contained was of no attribute. It was best to use non-elemental materials to refine large artifacts such as flying boats. That was because the flying boat was mainly powered by spirit stones, and spirit stones provided non-elemental spiritual energy. When materials of any other attribute absorbed non-elemental spiritual energy, there would be a process of spiritual energy attribute conversion. Meaningless processes were naturally removed as much as possible. The strength of star steel was not low, and it was also a metallic material. When it was damaged, it was easier to repair. Most importantly, the Wang family had a mine that produced star steel. Although the production of high-grade Tier 2 star steel was extremely low, it was still enough to refine the core of the flying boat. In order to save time, he even asked Zhao Liang to help out. Zhao Liang was still at the peak of qi refinement. It took time and effort to process Tier 2 materials. Wang Daoyuan asked him to help with the hull material. In other words, he had to cut iron quinoa wood into wooden boards and inscribe patterns to increase the strength. He still had to do the core parts as well as the keel and ribs. He had to inscribe the two large formations, the floating array and the propulsion array, on more than 10 pieces of star steel. These pieces of star steel could not be too big because Tier 2 metals had a high density. The bigger the size, the heavier the weight. The floating array had a limited capacity. If the core of the flying boat took up too much of its weight, it would be able to carry less goods in the future. This was also a major flaw of the metallic core. With the spiritual wood core, there was no need to consider so much. The size could be larger. The core of the flying boat refined by Lei Yanjinren was very common for parts that were more than 10 feet long. As for the parts that Wang Daoyuan refined, they were at most 3 feet long. As a result, the difficulty of inscribing the formation patterns was much higher. In general, the spiritual wood core and the metallic core both had their advantages and disadvantages. The spiritual wood core was light and easy to inscribe the formation patterns, but it was more difficult to repair it after it was damaged. The metallic core was heavy and difficult to inscribe the formation patterns, but it was easy to repair it after it was damaged. Wang Daoyuan chose the metallic core not only because it was easy to repair, but also because the Wang family did not have suitable spiritual wood. The jade bone pine's spiritual energy permeability was too poor and was not suitable to be the core. The golden silk jade peach's spiritual energy permeability was extremely high, but the Wang family did not have any high-grade Tier 2 golden silk jade peach. Although there was one in the space of the spirit pearl, Wang Daoyuan did not dare to take it out easily. If he purchased suitable spiritual wood, he would have to use the same spiritual wood to repair the damaged core in the future. Furthermore, considering the mistakes during the refinement process and the wastage of materials, he would have to purchase a large amount of spiritual wood at once. The cost was too high. After considering everything, Wang Daoyuan chose the star steel to refine the core of the flying boat. Fortunately, Wang Daoyuan's formation skills were excellent and he spent close to a year to successfully refine the core of the flying boat. During this period there were countless mistakes. Fortunately, the star steel could be smelted multiple times and did not consume much of the spiritual materials. Because it had been smelted too many times, the star steel that was no longer suitable for refining the core was still useful and could be used as a repair material. After the core of the flying boat was refined, the remaining work was not difficult. It was nothing more than using the jade bone pine to create a protective layer for the core of the flying boat and refining the ribs. The core of the jade bone pine was used to refine the dragon bones. There were still many of these left when he refined the outer shell of the flying boat. Although the newly refined flying boat was still 50 feet long, its width had increased to 20 feet to increase the transport capacity. A year and a half later, the two flying boats were completed at the same time. The name of the wave-chasing boat had already been replaced by the previous flying boat and was now changed to Lin Ji. The brand new flying boat was named Jade Pine. The work for the 3 flying boats had already been arranged. The wave-chasing boat set off from Jade Spring Peak and headed south along Clear Glass River. After arriving at Clear Glass City, it turned east and followed the clear stream to the edge of Heaven/Mountain Range. There were many itinerant cultivators on this route, and it was mainly used for passenger transport with freight transport as a supplement. The refinement standards of the Linji were lower and the quality of the materials were not good. Furthermore, it had been repaired and there was no guarantee that there would be no problems. It was not suitable for long journeys. The route from Jade Pine Mountain to Jade Spring Peak would pass by Linji Mountain and a few other family properties. It was mainly used for freight transport and only family cultivators were used for passenger transport. The jade pine was personally refined by Wang Daoyuan. Although the standards of the core of the flying boat were far from perfected being Lei Yen, it was much better than the core of the Linji. Furthermore, all the materials were produced by the family and it was easy to repair if there were any problems. Therefore, the jade pine took on the most difficult task of transporting goods from Clear Glass City to Heyang County's Heiyun Lake Market. In order to ensure the safety of the flying boat, Wang Daoyuan even set up an offensive and defensive formation on the exterior of the flying boat. While he had to guard against external enemies, he had to guard against internal enemies as well. This was to prevent thieves from pretending to be passengers and sneaking onto the flying boat to seize the chance to steal it. Using his evil weapon refinement techniques, Wang Daoyuan set up many dermic weapons that could release grade 2 dermic spells in the core cabin of the flying boat. As soon as someone barged into the engine cabin, these grade 2 dermic spells would be triggered. The manager of the engine cabin could also control these dermic weapons to release dermic spells to attack the troublemakers on the flying boat. Chapter 281. After the 3 flying ships started working, they encountered many cultivators who wanted to rob the ships. After all, there were no Foundation establishment cultivators on board. Even Peak Chi refinement cultivators had a chance of successfully robbing the ships. Linji's route in the Wang family's territory didn't encounter any robberies. Jade Song and Wave Chaser encountered many robberies. Wave Chaser's main purpose was to transport passengers. Rogue cultivators were mostly fugitives, so they encountered robberies the most. No matter how bad a flying ship was, it was still worth 10,000 spirit stones and there were no Foundation establishment cultivators on board. It would be strange if fugitives weren't tempted. However, with Wang Daoyuan's backup plan, it was possible to kill late Foundation establishment cultivators. Chi refinement cultivators would definitely die if they dared to make a move. Jadesong's journey was the furthest and it passed through the border between 2 counties. This kind of border was most suitable for robberies. Because Jadesong was a cargo ship, it didn't carry rogue cultivators. Only cultivators from friendly families could take the flying ship. Therefore, Jadesong had never encountered any robberies. Instead, it encountered Foundation establishment cultivators blocking the way many times. Wang Daoyuan's offensive and defensive formations were all superior level 2 formations. They had the ability to kill late Foundation establishment cultivators. After 3 months of transporting goods, Jadesong was intercepted by a late Foundation establishment cultivator and 2 mid-Foundation establishment cultivators near Heaven's Gate. The steward of Jadesong used the formation to kill the 2 mid-Foundation establishment cultivators. The late Foundation establishment cultivator also escaped with heavy injuries. Since then, no one dared to rob the Wang family's flying ship. With the advantage of being at the source of Qingli River, the Wang family had a huge advantage in water transportation. Now that they had the flying ship, it could be said that the Wang family controlled the transportation industry in the north of Qingli County, monopolizing the industry to make money. Completely controlling the industry without any competitors was even more profitable. After half a year of operation, the flying ship's income surpassed the 3 industries of pills, talismans and spirit chefs. It was comparable to the income of the spirit wine industry. Naturally, the flying ship was under the control of the transportation hall. In the past, the transportation hall didn't have much money and only supported the mining hall, spirit wood hall and trade hall. Now that they had the flying ship, the transportation hall's profitability was no less than the other 3 halls. The transportation hall and spirit silkworm hall were the 2 halls with the greatest prospects. In the future, transportation and silkworms would become the most important industries of the Wang family. This was just the beginning. In the future, the clan would expand its business scope. The flying boat was an important weapon for the clan to expand its living space and market. It would also promote the development of other industries. After Lin Ji and Yu Song were completed, Wang Daoyuan and Zhao Liang did not stay idle. They continued to refine flying boats. Due to the huge commotion in the central region of Qingli Prefecture, They needed to refine another flying boat to be used for transportation between Qingli City Square and the central region of Qingli Prefecture. This commotion was caused by the clans around 100 Spirit Mountain preparing to set up a market. The location of the market was at the foot of the western part of 100 Spirit Mountain. There were a few streams here that flowed into Qingli River. Water transportation was convenient, and it was backed by the rich and populous Bailing Mountain. The location was indeed excellent. There weren't any large-scale city squares in the central part of Qingli Prefecture. The few so-called small-scale city squares were just a few clans that established a grassroots organization. Once the Bailing Mountain Market was established, it would quickly become the trading hub of the entire Qingli region. If he could take the initiative here, the profits would be huge. The only drawback was that there were still a few dozen Yao beasts in 100 Spirit Mountain. If he could not get rid of the Yao beasts, the matter of setting up a market would be complete nonsense. There was also news from 100 Spirit Mountain. As long as Wang Jian was willing to wipe out the Yao beasts in 100 Spirit Mountain, the Wang clan would receive 1/10 of the shares of the Bailing Mountain Market. This was using great profits to lure the Wang clan and urge Wang Jian to act. However, the Wang clan was not in a hurry. With the Wang clan's current output, Qingli City Square, Green Willow Island and Heiyang Prefecture's Heiyun Lake Market, the three major markets could completely swallow it all. Without more output, there was no need to expand the market. The matter of the Bailing Mountain Market could wait until Fallen Dragon Ridge was completely taken down. Of course, the flying boat had to be prepared in advance. It was better to prepare and not use, than to use and not prepare. Preparing the flying boat in advance would prevent them from not being able to take it out when they needed it in the future. Wang Daoyuan and Zhao Liang cooperated and transferred the first-tier craftsmen taught by Zhao Liang from Jade Spring Peak to Jade Pine Mountain to help out. With the experience from last time, Wang Daoyuan's skill in crafting the core of the flying boat had improved. The core of the flying boat refined this time was a bit stronger than the Jade Pine. The stronger the core, the bigger the outer shell, and the more cargo it could transport, otherwise it would be a waste of such a good core. The new flying boat was named Jade Spring. In order to refine the Jade Spring, he had cut down a second-tier high-grade jade bone pine and refined a 7 zhang long keel. The entire flying boat was close to 8 zhang long and 25 zhang wide. The Jade Spring was bigger and had more space inside. Wang Daoyuan had also left some backup plans. With the experience from last time, the speed of the refining this time was much faster. In just 8 months the refining was completed. After refining the Jade Spring, Wang Daoyuan spent nearly a year refining a few keels and a complete set of core components of the flying boat. This was to prepare for going out to gain experience. Now that he was at the 7th level of foundation establishment, it was time for him to prepare for opening the Purple Palace. Zhao Liang was now a second-tier high-grade craftsman. He could repair and replace the components of the flying boat that did not involve array formations. But apart from Wang Daoyuan, there were no other second-tier high-grade array masters in the clan. Wang Shoujia had been nurtured by Wang Daoyuan for several years, but he was only a first-tier mid-grade array master. Although his talent was very good, he did not even have the ability to repair the flying boat's array formations. When he went out to gain experience, if there was a problem with the keels or the flying boat's core, no one would be able to repair it. Naturally, he had to make some preparations in advance. After making these preparations, Wang Daoyuan greeted his 12th uncle and left the clan again. He went to the north of the mountain to prepare for opening the Purple Palace. There were not many channels to obtain auxiliary spiritual items for opening the Purple Palace, but he knew of two. The first was that the top forces would auction the yin-yang purple jade and the purple cloud would core every 200 years. There was a hard condition to participate in this auction, and that was to have at least one golden core cultivator in one's faction. The Wang clan did not have any golden core cultivators, so they did not even have the qualifications to bid. The second was to obtain the yin-yang purple jade from Blood Shadow. His clone, Wu Yi, was originally an internal member of the Blood Shadow Mountain's northern branch. As an internal member of Blood Shadow, he was naturally qualified to use spirit stones to buy the yin-yang purple jade. Wang Daoyuan had long wanted to play this hand, but he did not have the means to recover his soul before, so he did not dare to casually send his clone out. Now that he had the inky jade lotus seed, even if his clone was killed and lost a part of his soul, he could quickly recover. After leaving Jade Pine Mountain, he did not fly on his sword. Instead, he walked to the north. After crossing Huiyin Mountain, he headed west and headed to Guiyan Market. It had been more than 20 years since he last came to Guiyan Market. In the past 20 years, the Underworld sect had wanted to make a move on the Guiyuan sword sect. Although they did not fight in the end, it still affected the situation in the north of the mountain. The situation in the north of the mountain was unknown. Chapter 282. Wang Daoyuan was in the limelight during the duel between the two sections. Too many people recognized him, so he didn't dare to show his true face. He used to have the appearance of a youth, but he used a disguise technique to change his appearance into a weather-beaten middle-aged man. He used the spirit concealment technique to suppress his cultivation to the 4th level of foundation establishment before entering the market. After a few steps, he saw a middle-aged qi condensation cultivator come to talk to him. This person was an acquaintance. It was the broker Fu Qing that he met when he first came to Guiyuan Market. After 20 years, Fu Qing had aged a lot, but his cultivation had increased a little. He was now at the 5th level of qi condensation. In this line of work, there was basically no time to cultivate. Only cultivators who didn't have any hope in their path of cultivation would choose this line of work. It wasn't easy for this guy to improve his cultivation. Fu Qing cupped his hands towards Wang Daoyuan and bowed. Is this the first time Senior has come to Guiyuan Market? I've lived here since I was young, so I know Guiyuan Market very well. No matter what Senior wants to buy, I can help Senior find a suitable shop. Wang Daoyuan laughed with a voice full of vicissitudes. I've traveled here 50 years ago. After that, I went to other places to look for opportunities. A few years ago, I heard that the underworld sect wanted to make a move against Shanbei. I wonder if the situation here has changed? Fu Qing had a troubled look on his face as he said, this junior doesn't dare to say it in public. Wang Daoyuan laughed, take me to an inn run by a half-demon force. The half-demon force that runs the inn must be neutral. I don't want to get involved in the fight between big forces. Then he handed a spirit stone to Fu Qing. Fu Qing took the spirit stone and promised with a smile, don't worry, Senior will be satisfied. Then he brought Wang Daoyuan to an inn. The signboard in front of the inn had the words Taurus Inn written on it. Fu Qing laughed, Senior, this Taurus Inn is the business of the Taurus tribe. The Taurus tribe is very powerful. They have 2 golden core cultivators and never get involved in the disputes of other forces. Although the Taurus tribe's elders don't have good tempers, as long as you don't provoke them, they are still very kind. Wang Daoyuan brought Fu Qing into the inn and booked a superior room. He scanned the entire room with his divine sense, but he didn't find anything that was monitoring him. Then he took out a soundproof array disc and placed some spirit stones on it. The soundproof array was activated and the entire room was shrouded in it. Wang Daoyuan took out 10 spirit stones and asked, can you tell me now? Fu Qing hurriedly took the spirit stones and answered, the underworld sect and the demon clan have reconciled. Not many major events have happened in the past 50 years. About 50 years ago, the Guiyuan sword sect suddenly became very high profile and began to expand their businesses. They did all kinds of business and even recruited a large number of rogue cultivators. This was especially true for cultivators who were proficient in alchemy, weapons, and talisman arrays. The Guiyuan sword sect did not hesitate to use force to recruit them. However, the Guiyuan sword sect had always hidden themselves very well, and their reputation among the rogue cultivators in this area was extremely good. About 20 years ago, there was a senior called Huang Wanli who was proficient in alchemy and talisman arrays. He opened an elixir store in the market. The Guiyuan sword sect forced him to join several times. Senior Huang did not dare to forcefully refuse and agreed to help the Guiyuan sword sect refine pills and make talismans. However, the Guiyuan sword sect did not give up. When Senior Huang and another senior went out to look for spirit herbs, the Guiyuan sword sect sent experts to chase after them, wanting to capture Senior Huang and bring him into the sect. This Senior Huang was also very capable. Faced with the pursuit of a 6th-stage foundation establishment cultivator from the Guiyuan sword sect, he escaped thousands of miles away with his 3rd-stage foundation establishment cultivation. He even complained about the Guiyuan sword sect's crimes along the way. In the end, Senior Huang's cultivation was too low. In the end, he could only lure the experts of the Guiyuan sword sect to a group of demon beasts. After a bloody battle, there was no more news of Senior Huang and the experts of the Guiyuan sword sect. The news of the Guiyuan sword sect kidnapping cultivators who were proficient in alchemy, weapons, and talisman arrays also spread in this area. Other forces also took advantage of the situation and exposed some of the shameful things of the Guiyuan sword sect. Since then, the reputation of the Guiyuan sword sect was completely ruined. Business was not good and no one was willing to join the Guiyuan sword sect. More than 10 years ago, the Netherworld sect said that the Guiyuan sword sect was a remnant of the Zhao royal family and wanted to conquer them. However, the demons and half-demons did not agree, and the cultivators of the Netherworld sect crossed the Huiyan mountain. The Netherworld sect had no choice but to send a small number of Foundation Establishment and Zifu realm cultivators to the north of the mountain. On one hand, they discussed with the demons and half-demons, and on the other they spied on the Beiyuan sword sect. The Foundation Establishment cultivators of both sides often fought outside the Guiyan market, and there were casualties on both sides. Since then, the Netherworld sect also strengthened their forces in the Guiyan market. In the past, the Netherworld sect only stationed one Zifu realm cultivator in the Guiyan market. Now, there were 60 to 70 Foundation Establishment cultivators. The Beiyuan sword sect's reputation was ruined, and they were suppressed by the Netherworld sect. They were no longer as arrogant as before. Now their business was poor and their disciples rarely appeared. A few years ago, the Netherworld sect's base in the Guiyan market was often visited by Foundation Establishment cultivators dressed as loose cultivators. These Foundation Establishment cultivators dressed as rogue cultivators left Wild Goose Market and headed north. In a few days they would return. Some of them even had injuries all over their bodies. As for what they were going to do, I don't know. This situation continued on and off for 4 or 5 years, and then it was left unsettled. In recent years, the situation has been very stable and the various factions have not made any moves. The structure of the Guiyan market has not changed much, and the division of power is the same as before. The south of the market is the territory of the Netherworld sect. The north is the territory of the demons. The east is mixed with many half-demon tribes. The west is the territory of the north of the mountain. The shops of the Beiyuan sword sect and other small sects and cultivation clans are mostly in the west. There are loose cultivators' shops everywhere. If Senior wants to open a shop, it's best to open one in the central and eastern regions. The central region is mixed with various factions and no one dares to cause trouble. The half-demon factions in the east have a neutral attitude and are not in any alliance. As long as you don't deliberately cause trouble, no one will care if you do business. Wang Daoyuan asked, "How do you know I want to do business here?" Fu Qing smiled and said, "I rely on my eyesight to make a living. If Senior is only staying here temporarily, why would you ask about the situation? Senior took 10 spirit stones and asked me about these things that are not considered secrets. The biggest possibility is that you are here to do business." Wang Daoyuan smiled and said, "I want to open a shop for refining weapons. Help me find a suitable shop and you will be rewarded." Fu Qing bowed and said, "Senior, don't worry. I will help you find a suitable shop. I will definitely give you a reply within 3 days. Junior's name is Fu Qing. If Senior is looking for me, you can just tell the shopkeeper." With that, he turned and left the room. Wang Daoyuan put away the soundproof formation and thought to himself. According to Fu Qing, a few years ago, the Netherworld sect sent out a Foundation Establishment cultivator to explore the north of Wild Goose Market. A few days later, he returned with injuries. It was very likely that he went to the Mirror Lake Oasis to find a place with purine qi. If a cultivator returned with injuries, it was very likely that he fought with Qin Ji. It seemed that his plan to kill with a borrowed knife had worked. The fact that the Netherworld sect dared to send out more Foundation Establishment cultivators after the injured one meant that the enemy's cultivation hadn't reached the Violet Palace realm. Qin Ji was still a Foundation Establishment cultivator, which was good news for Wang Daoyuan. Establishing a Violet Palace was a qualitative change. No matter how strong a peak Foundation Establishment cultivator was, it would be difficult for them to defeat an early-stage Violet Palace realm cultivator. If a Foundation Establishment cultivator could withstand a few moves from a Violet Palace realm cultivator, they could be said to be invincible in the same realm. Shi Junbang of the Green Willow province had withstood a move from Zhou Qi and escaped unscathed, which attracted countless wandering cultivators. Wang Daoyuan didn't dare to fight with a Violet Palace realm cultivator, but Qin Ji hadn't established a Violet Palace yet. As long as he hadn't established a Violet Palace realm, no matter how strong he was still a Foundation Establishment cultivator. Chapter 283. Wang Daoyuan was taking the Gui water death flame, causing the Yin energy of the Mingshui River and the mysterious Yin spring to disappear. Many evil practitioners had left the Dark Moon Market, which affected the recruitment speed of the Ninth Prince's branch. In order to divert the attention of the Wanling sect and the Wanling sect, the Underworld sect used the Beiyuan sword sect as a shield, making it difficult for the Beiyuan sword sect to expand. Among the forces under the Zhao clan, only the Green Willow continent was not affected. The Green Willow continent was the Ninth Prince's subordinate, and the ninth prince always planned before acting. The three major sects were watching the Beiyuan sword sect, so the sixth prince would not dare to act. Without this idiot, Shanbei could maintain a stable situation for a long time. Moreover, the three major sects had a common enemy, so they would not easily stir up trouble. The Zhao clan could maintain a peaceful situation for a long time. He really didn't expect that his casual move would cause such a huge impact. With the situation stable, the Wang clan could develop in peace. Currently, the Wang clan was in a critical period of development. If there were no accidents, they could manage the Jade Pine Mountain for a few years, then continue to attack the Fallen Dragon Ridge and take down one or two more mountains. Wang Jian would wipe out the monsters in the 100 Spirit Mountain, and the Wang clan would become a shareholder of the 100 Spirit Mountain market. After that, the Wang clan's influence would expand beyond the northern part of the Qingli prefecture, and they would become a true overlord clan. If they could not take this step, the Wang clan would be trapped in the northern part of the Qingli prefecture, and could only be an ordinary Z Mansion clan. The current situation was very beneficial to the Wang clan's overall interests. However, it had advantages and disadvantages for Wang Daoyuan. The advantage was that he did not have to worry about being affected by the infighting of other forces, so he could carry out his plan in peace. The disadvantage was that the situation was too stable, so it was not easy to fish in troubled waters. He had to be careful to avoid being the first to do something. After staying at the Taurus Inn for 2 days, Fu Qing came to find him. After the two met, Fu Qing bowed and said, "Senior, I have followed your instructions and found a good place to open a shop for you." Wang Daoyuan smiled and said, "You're pretty smart. Is this shop clean from top to bottom? Don't wait for me to take over and there will be trouble." Fu Qing quickly replied, "Senior, don't worry. The owner of the shop is a neutral tribe, and they are renting it to an independent cultivator senior. The senior is only staying here temporarily. Now the lease is coming to an end, he wants to train elsewhere and has no intention of renewing the lease. Therefore the shop owner is anxious, is looking for another place. However, the half-demon tribe has no intention of selling their shops and can only rent them. What do you think, senior?" Wang Daoyuan said without hesitation, "As long as there's no **t, we can accept both renting and buying." However, what was the situation with the half-demon tribe? Did they have a bunch of enemies? "I have to make to be a shield clan sect." Fu Qing said, The tribe. This tribe was neither strong nor weak. They didn't have any Jindan cultivators, but they did have a few peak-stage Zifu disciples. The White Fox tribe claimed that their ancestor was a 5-tailed spirit fox and possessed the bloodline of a 9-tailed celestial fox. Looking at the cultivation talent of the people of the White Fox tribe, there was not even a single golden core cultivator. This statement was most likely an exaggeration. The White Fox tribe had always been law-abiding and did not like to fight. Moreover, they were very willing to marry into the human race. Many Foundation establishment loose cultivators had married into their families. If senior is interested, you can give it a try. When the White Fox tribe recruited human cultivators, they paid the most attention not to their looks and talent, but to their knowledge of the various arts of immortal cultivation. Since senior wants to open a weapon refinement shop, you must be proficient in the art of weapon refinement. You should be chosen by the White Fox tribe. Hearing this, Wang Daoyuan felt that it was inappropriate. He was here to cause trouble, not to marry into the family. He asked, "My heart is on the path of Dao. Women will only affect my cultivation speed. If the people of the White Fox tribe will harass you, then you should go to another shop." When Fu Qing heard that, he said with a smile, "Senior, don't worry. The White Fox tribe has always been well behaved. If you have no intention of marrying into their family, they will not pester you." Wang Daoyuan pondered for a moment and said, "Then let's go take a look first." The shop was located in the middle of the market, close to the east, which was the half-demon's territory. The surrounding shops were all owned by the various half-demon tribes. As such, business was very good. Half-demons inherited the characteristics of humans and demons. They had the strong physique and talent of demons, as well as the intelligence and strong souls of humans. However, compared to humans and demons, half-demons were still lacking in many aspects. For example, half-demons were not suitable to learn the various arts of immortal cultivation. Hence, they did not have much achievements in alchemy, smithing and talisman arrays. The surrounding shops were all half-demon shops and were not competitive. Naturally, his business was good. Fu Qing brought Wang Daoyuan to the shop and saw that the signboard had been removed. It seemed that the previous tenant had ended the lease. Wang Daoyuan walked into the shop and saw a male and female foundation establishment cultivator. The male was a young man at the 6th level of foundation establishment. He had sword-like eyebrows and phoenix eyes and a handsome face. Although he was dressed as an itinerant cultivator, his bearing was extraordinary. His every move was perfect and gave off a natural feeling. There was nothing unnatural about it. It was obvious that he had undergone strict and brilliant etiquette training. He had seen many elite disciples of the 3 major sects, but none of them had undergone such strict etiquette training. He had also seen people from the Zhao royal family and they were not so particular about etiquette. Such people were definitely not itinerant cultivators. Beside him stood a woman in a long white dress. She was at the 3rd level of foundation establishment. The woman's face was like a peach blossom. Even without makeup, she was bright and moving. However, her hair was white and her ears were not like a human's. They were shaped like a dog. This woman was clearly a half-demon and should be from the White Fox tribe. Wang Daoyuan cupped his hands at the two of them. I'm Wu Chuan. Greetings to Daoyu. I'm interested in renting this shop. I wonder which one of the Daoyu will name the price? The man smiled. I'm only a tenant of this shop and not the owner. I'm only waiting for Daoyu to hand over some things. As for the price, it's naturally up to you to negotiate with Miss Bai. The half-demon woman winked at the man and said, if you want, not to mention this small shop, even the entire tribe will be yours. The man looked at Wang Daoyuan, and a purple light flashed in his eyes. He said, the family rules are very strict. I don't dare to stay outside for long. I hope Miss Bai can forgive me. However, this Daoyu has such a cultivation at such a young age. His talent is not below mine, and his luck is far better than mine. If the White Fox tribe can let this person marry into our family, it will be easy to revitalize the tribe. I'm Zhou Xian. Can we be friends? Wang Daoyuan was very alert and noticed the purple light flashing in his eyes. This was a special spell that used the eyes. It was called an eye technique and could see through a person's disguise. There were many such spells, but this person mentioned luck. Wang Daoyuan could obtain the space in the spiritual pearl, so his luck was naturally not bad. This person could see a person's luck. This was a chi viewing technique. According to the 5 Elements Spiritual Master's book, Beiyuan Records, there was a large sect in the westernmost part of Beiyuan Xiuxian. It was called the Archaic Mysteries Sect. It was good at prying into the secrets of heaven and chi viewing techniques. The Archaic Mysteries Sect still existed and was one of the top powers in Beiyuan Xiuxian. It was on par with the Divine Weapon Pavilion. Even Luo Hongming could not compare to this person's behavior and temperament. Could be seen that his background was far better than the Underworld sect. He also knew the chi viewing technique. It was very likely that he was from the Archaic Mysteries sect. Wang Daoyuan cupped his hands and said, Greetings, Xian Daoyu. I'm just a rogue cultivator. How would I dare to associate with you? The founder of the Archaic Mysteries sect was surnamed Xian. The sect master had always been from the Xian family. The core inheritance of the Archaic Mysteries sect was the Xian family's secret technique. The chi viewing technique was created by the Xian family. Wang Daoyuan called him Xian Daoyu to test him. Zhou Xian's body flashed with a strange wave of spiritual power. Wang Daoyuan's hand also flashed with earth elemental spiritual power. He was ready to use the earth divine thunder. Zhou Xian's spiritual power flashed, and Wang Daoyuan immediately stopped using the earth divine thunder. The two of them tested each other's strength. The half-demon woman did not notice anything unusual. Chapter 284. Zhou Xian laughed. Wu Dao, you must be joking. My surname is Zhou. Daoyu is really capable. I'm not your match. Wang Daoyuan replied, fellow Taoist Zhou is making fun of me. I've wasted nearly 200 years, and I'm only at the 4th level of foundation establishment. I'm not young and my cultivation is not worth mentioning. Although the half-demon woman and Fu Cheng could tell that there was a hidden meaning in their words, their strength and knowledge were limited. They did not understand what the two were talking about and did not realize that they were testing each other. Zhou Xian cupped his hands and said, I wanted to hand over some things in the shop to Wu Daoyu, but there is no need for that now. Wu Daoyu and I are like-minded, so I will give Daoyu some of my worldly possessions. It is a pity that Daoyu is too scheming. Wang Daoyuan returned the gesture and said, then I have to thank Daoyu for your gift. Daoyu and I hit it off. What a pity. Why does a good person like you have such a mouth? Hearing this, Zhou Xian laughed. I have always been talkative and said something I should not have said. Daoyu wouldn't want me to stay, would you? Wang Daoyuan laughed. I do not have the ability to keep Daoyu here. Furthermore, I am not a fool. I will not risk my life for such a small matter. Previously, the two of them had tested each other and neither of them was confident of winning. Zhou Xian only said a few words and did not mean any harm. Wang Daoyuan would not kill anyone for such a small matter. Furthermore, this was someone from the Archaic Mysteries sect. Even if he killed Zhou Xian, he would not be able to hide it from the fortune-tellers of the Archaic Mysteries sect. If he angered the Archaic Mysteries sect, the Wang family's wealth would be gone with a breath. Zhou Xian bid farewell and left. He casually gave Fu Qing more than 20 spiritual stones and said, "Help me contact a channel that provides spiritual charcoal and level 2 smithing materials. You will be rewarded." Fu Qing took the spirit stones and ran away. Wang Daoyuan cupped his hands towards the half-demoness and said, "Daoyubai, I would like to rent this shop. How much is the rent?" The half-demon woman smiled and said, "This shop can be rented or given away for free. Which one would Wu Daoyu like?" Wang Daoyuan naturally knew what she meant. As long as he agreed to marry into the White Fox tribe, the shop would be given to him for free. An ordinary smithing shop would at most cost 10,000 spirit stones, but he could easily sell a second-tier high-grade spirit artifact for more than that. With the current status of the Wang clan as well as his position in the clan, as long as he said the word, all the daughters of the clan heads would rush to his door. He didn't even want to marry a human woman, let alone a half-demon. Not to mention a half-demon with poor cultivation talent. The small door of the workshop was opened on the east wall and there was a pile of dermic charcoal beside the door. Beside the north wall was a pool used to quench dermic weapons. Although the items were not very precious, it would take a lot of time and spirit stones to buy them again. He came here to open a refining workshop to deceive others. It was good to save some time. After opening for half a month, only a few customers came. He bought a few pieces of second-tier materials and sold a second-tier medium long sword. It was time to start his plan to get the yin-yang purple jade from Blood Shadow. Wang Daoyuan left Guiyan Market and entered Guiyan Mountain. He found an underground cave with the spirit-seeking compass and released his avatar Wu Yi. Wu Yi had stayed in the space for so many years and his cultivation had reached the 8th level foundation establishment realm. He could try to enter Blood Shadow. He still had to make preparations. He took back the divided soul in his body and put it back in. After doing this, Wang Daoyuan began to tamper with Wu Yi's memories. In order to prevent experts from repairing the tampered memories, Wang Daoyuan first erased all of Wu Yi's memories after he was captured and then implanted fake memories. After the memories were tampered with, even if someone searched his soul, they would not expose any useful information about Wang Daoyuan. In the tampered memories, Wu Yi failed to assassinate Wang Daoyuan and was chased by Wang Daoyuan and a few spirit beasts. He even lost his inky gold sword. Wang Daoyuan had used the inky gold sword in front of others before. Blood Shadow's intelligence was very good. If they knew that he was in possession of the sword, Wu Yi would be exposed. In the tampered memories, Wu Yi was chased by Wang Daoyuan's spirit beasts. He fled all the way to the southeast and went thousands of miles deep into the sky/mountain range. He relied on his ability to hide his body to avoid being chased. In the end, he found an ancient cultivator's cave and hid in it to cultivate for many years. He only dared to come out when his cultivation reached the 8th level foundation establishment realm. The cave in his memories was also fabricated. It was only about 500 miles away from the sky/mountain range's main mountain range, so Blood Shadow's people did not dare to check it out. The evil techniques used to erase and tamper memories came from the beast skin book left behind by the 10,000 Corpse spiritual master. Originally, Wang Daoyuan disdained to learn these evil techniques. However, in order to get the yin-yang purple jade, he did not mind learning a few evil techniques. There was no good or evil technique. It depended on who it was used on. After the preparations were done, it was time to let Wu Yi go back and enter Blood Shadow. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.